You are looking live at Taylor Field in Regina, where tonight the Saskatchewan Roughriders go after the Eskimos as the road to the Grey Cup continues.
CBC Sports presents the CFL on CBC.
It is hard to remember when the Edmonton Eskimos have not had an outstanding quarterback like Tom Wilkinson, who was succeeded by Warren Moon. Last November, Matt Dunnigan and Damon Allen shared an Eskimo Grey Cup victory. Tracy Ham has been thrust into the starting quarterback position tonight, and the Eskimos hope he'll keep their tradition alive. The Saskatchewan Roughriders tradition of great quarterbacks ended 10 years ago when Ron Lancaster retired. Since then, the Riders have searched in vain for a successor. They have tried 19 different quarterbacks, and they're pinning their hopes early in this season on Tom Burgess. Impressive in Saskatchewan's season-opening victory. It's a matchup of two young quarterbacks tonight in a meeting of two unbeaten teams. We welcome our viewers from wherever you're watching to the CFL on CBC. It's Saturday night.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Carling O'Keefe, brewers of Foster's Lager, the Golden Throat Charmer. Petro-Canada dealers and agents. Our energy is Canada. And by Priority Post EMS Courier, your better business connection in Canada and around the world.
There's a feeling of excitement over the Riders in Saskatchewan. Yes, they've only won their season opener, but when you've missed the playoffs for 11 straight years, it's a start. And now here are the Riders with a chance to go 2-0 at the start of the season for the first time since 1975. But don't expect the Eskimos to surrender Saskatchewan's second victory. The face of the Eskimos changed somewhat in the offseason, but there are still enough players left who know what winning is all about to make the Edmonton Eskimos the team to beat in the Western Conference. Now let's hear from Don Whitman and Ron Lancaster.
Thanks, Scott. Well, the Edmonton Eskimos didn't expect to start just the second game of the season with a rookie at the quarterbacking position. And while he isn't a rookie, Tom Burgess of the Saskatchewan Roughriders doesn't have a lot of experience.
No, that's for sure, Don. But, you know, Joe Farrelly wasn't the least bit concerned about starting a rookie at quarterback. He feels he's got a veteran club around him. Tom Burgess, on the other hand, has got to play well for the Saskatchewan Roughriders to win because he doesn't have many veterans. In fact, the only veteran he really has back there is Milton Jones. He's got more experience than any other running back or wide receiver that they have. Now, the Eskimos got a big play wide receiver in Stephon Jones, who last year had Brian Kelly to take the heat off of him on the other side. Jim Sandusky's finally getting to play a football game that he's been looking for after sitting out the first one.
And if the Eskimos want even more speed in their receiving corps, I think you'll see Henry the Gizmo Williams, punt returner extraordinaire, lining up in either a slot back or a wide receiver position. Now, on the other side of the ball, the teams are counting on a couple of key people up front, Brett Williams and Bobby Jurison.
Well, defense is what wins the football games, and Brett Williams is a defensive tackle, which means he's got to exert pressure straight up the field. It's hard for him to make sacks. On the other hand, Bobby Jurison's supposed to be the sack man. He's the defensive end. He forces the quarterback to step up into the pocket, and if he does, then you have guys like Williams or this guy, Rick Klassen, waiting to make the sack. So they're two good defenses.
Klassen came over to the Riders from the BC Lions, and during the course of the game, you'll see the Roughriders alternate 5 different people at those 4 down lineman positions. Scott?
Don, part of the reason for good feelings about the Roughriders is the work of 2 Saskatchewan boys, General Manager Bill Baker and his assistant Al Ford. At halftime and inside the CFL, Bill Baker joins us live to talk about the Riders' undying efforts to stay in touch with Regina. And we'll have a feature report on the Eskimos' Tracy Ham on the night that he makes his first professional start. The kickoff is next.
Beautiful evening in Regina, having cooled off about 15 degrees from yesterday's record high, but the wind could be a factor, as it so often is here at Taylor Field. Ken Lazaruk is the man in charge of tonight's ball game, and he and the other members of the officiating crew are moving into position to get this game underway. Both teams winners in their season opener. The Saskatchewan Roughriders in Ottawa, the Edmonton Eskimos at home against Calgary. Tim McRae and Albert Brown are back to accept Jerry Corrick's kickoff to get this game underway. The Eskimos 33-0 winners over Calgary. Saskatchewan 48-21 over Ottawa. David Conrad fumbles that short kickoff as it hung up high in the wind. And early in the ball game, the wind does become a factor, but fortunately for the Roughriders, they were able to recover.
Well, we talk about Tom Burgess and Milson Jones, but he's got a real speedster in Tim McCray to work with also in that backfield. Out in the receiver positions, slot back Jeff Fairholmes, the big catch, the rookie, had a good opening game and a veteran offensive line. No real problems up front.
And I would think tonight that Milson Jones, the ex-Edmonton Eskimo, has something to prove, and he gets the handoff on the game's first play and picks up about 3 yards. He is tackled by Brian Warren at that rush end position.
Well, Brian Warren's moved up to that rush end position when Stuart Hill left. He's got great speed. They got a lot of strength inside. No problems here. The same linebackers as last year, Larry Ruck, the only Canadian starting on the defensive side. And in the secondary, Don Wilson moves to that middle safety position.
From the 42, it is 2nd and 8, Saskatchewan. Tom Burgess, quarterback out of Colgate, who was CFL Offensive Player of the Week, is almost intercepted, as it was Danny Taylor who came over to defend against Ray Elgar.
Knocked away by Danny Taylor, number 19.
A little bit surprising to start the football game, Don, when the Eskimos kicked off into the wind. You know, visiting team usually has their choice. They must have decided to take that end of the field and let Saskatchewan have the ball. Maybe they're counting on this guy to run it back.
Well, the Gizmo is certainly capable. He etched his name into the CFL record book last year. Terry Baker had a punt blocked against the Ottawa Roughriders last week. Baker stands at his own 28-yard line for this third down kick. He gets away a beauty. Williams takes it at the 15. And Williams is forced out of bounds on the far side of the field, but there was a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage.
Contacting the kicker?
Contacting the kicker will be the penalty against the Edmonton Eskimos. It appeared to be Tony Spallettini who made the contact with kicker Terry Baker. Let's see on the replay if that was the case.
Wasn't much of a hit, but it was contacting. The referee did not call it roughing. He called it contacting. You know, you have a slow kicker in Terry Baker. You're always going to have this very close call back there in the backfield.
Well, coaches like to see a kicker take a 2-step whack at that football. Baker is a 3-step kicker.
Yeah, slow getting that football away. There's time limits on everything, and when you use up your time walking, you got to get the ball off quicker. They'd like 2 steps.
1st and 10. McCray the receiver, and McCray is caught immediately and brought down by Danny Taylor. Taylor is the newcomer in that Edmonton Eskimos secondary. He has replaced Ron Howard. Rather a strange injury to Ron Howard in the season opener against the Calgary Stampeders. With 1:17 left in the game, he ran back a fumble for 65 yards, finished the game. Then after the game, Joe Farraghelli said he found out that Howard was getting ready for surgery. He had tremendous swelling in the calf of his leg, and they had to remove fluid from that calf, so he'll be out for a couple of weeks. McCray, the ball carrier.
Carrying the ball.
He is going to be stopped short of the first down. He got to the 50-yard line of the Edmonton Eskimos. Dan Bass and Gary Columbus combined to make the tackle on the Saskatchewan Roughrider tailback. So the Gizmo gets another opportunity. 5 punt returns last year for a CFL record, 2 of them in a game against the Calgary Stampeders.
Speaking of Calgary, Edmonton's got to be happy to be playing somebody different this year.
They saw a lot of Calgary, a preseason game, their first game of the year against the Stampeders, and they also faced some of the Stampeders in the All-Star game. Not as good a kick this time by Baker, but he angles it away from Williams and puts it out of bounds at the 8-yard line.
That's one of the problems when you only have one single returner back there. When the ball's on the hash mark, as it was on this side of the field, he kicked it away from him, and he got a good bounce and went out of bounds. No chance for a return.
A 41-yard kick by Terry Baker. He had problems lining up against the Ottawa Roughriders in kick formation. He was only dropping back 13 yards instead of the customary 15.
Yeah, that 2 yards is big, too, because when you step forward then on those 3 steps of his, he's going to be very close to the line of scrimmage, and as a result, he got it blocked.
Tracy Hand, the product of Georgia Southern. Great credentials during his collegiate career, setting all sorts of records for combined passing and rushing yardage, taking the drop and dumping it off to Chris Skinner on the screen. But the Rough Rider defense is there, led by James Curry. Tracy Ham replacing Damon Allen late in the first half in the season opener, and he is the starting quarterback tonight.
Yeah, Skinner and Johnstone, the two Canadian running backs, are going to get some work, especially when you're backed up in your own end like this. A good crew of receivers. Sandusky set out his first game, as we mentioned, and didn't enjoy it one bit, so he's ready to go. And on the offensive line, a newcomer, a rookie, Dave Richardson, in at that right guard spot, and it's been a long time since we've seen a rookie in the Eskimo line.
Joe Faragelli is very pleased with the people he has at the backup positions on that offensive line. You know, when you can throw an experienced player like Bill Stevenson in there, I think you have to consider yourself very fortunate, along with another experienced backup in Kevin Powell.
10 years for Powell, 14 for Stevenson. That's unusual to have those type people in backup positions.
2nd and 12. There almost appeared to be some premature movement at the line of scrimmage. Sincar takes the pass, and Sincar is going to be stopped about a yard short of a first down by Joe Fuller.
Well, that play on first down by James Curry on the screen pass to Chris Skinner out there got him a net gain of 1 yard loss, which made it 11 yards. This is designed to get you 6 or 7, but not 11. Sincar just kind of hesitates and comes back underneath the linebackers, but Joe Fuller, playing man coverage, was right with him all the way.
So the Roughriders should get the football back in excellent field position. Albert Brown and Joe Fuller are back at the midfield stripe. Corrick with a line drive type of kick, not much distance. It's taken by Brown, and Brown is stopped at the 30-yard line. Junior Robinson is the man who prevented the Rough Rider punt returner from going any further. Season ticket sales this year were down in the vicinity of 14,000. That season opening win produced a good walk-up crowd, and in the vicinity of 23,000 or 24,000 are taking in this game tonight. Burgess throwing incomplete. He was looking over the middle for Ray Elgard, the slot back. It will be 2nd and 10 Saskatchewan, and quarterback Burgess came very close to going beyond that line of scrimmage before throwing the ball.
The quarterbacks, for some reason, have a built-in sensor. They know when they get near that line of scrimmage. Very seldom when you'll see a quarterback go across it. I don't know what it is about it, but they seem to know where it is.
And having said that, it will probably happen on this play.
Probably.
2nd and 10 Saskatchewan from the 30. Burgess, incomplete. Elgard again the intended receiver. They're trying to work Elgard against Danny Taylor, the rookie in that secondary.
I can believe that. I mean, if you've got a veteran football team like that Eskimo defense, and you look over there and only see one change, and it's a defensive back and he's a rookie, let's get a big, strong receiver on him and go to work. And they went on him 2 times in a row, but both times Elgard didn't hold on to the ball.
A field goal attempt upcoming from David Ridgway. If he's successful, it will be the 200th of his career. It's good. And Dave Ridgway now closes within 11 points of Jack Avenshan, the all-time Saskatchewan Roughrider scoring leader with 863 points. Ridgway, of course, is well ahead in the field goal department. That's the 200th of his career. Joe Faragelli, the head coach of the Eskimos. Former head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, winning Coach of the Year honors with the Roughriders in his first season. That was 1981. Didn't get to start the season last year as head coach of the Montreal Alouettes. Chris Skinner, the ball carrier. Hector Poitier, the veteran tackle, moving around the right side to spring him loose for a gain of about 11 yards before Rick Clausen came over to make the tackle.
You know what's a good play about this? Take a look at it when you get a look from the reverse angle. The Eskimos have all the receivers to one side. Richie Hall, the defensive back, went to the wide side. So when they run the counter coming the other way and they get Poitier around the corner, there is no force man, and that helps them to pick up the good yardage.
1st and 10 Edmonton from the 46-yard line. Saskatchewan leading 3-0. 8:58 the time remaining in this opening quarter. And throws deep, and it's over the head of Rick House, the slot back.
Well, I've been wondering about that. You know, Tracy Ham had this tremendous college career when he rushed for 5,000 yards, rushed for 3,000, and threw for 5,000 yards. That's 8,000 yards in 4 years. That's a heck of a career. But you know when you have a rookie quarterback, he's going to want to get outside. Saskatchewan do it. I'm anxious to see how they get him out. Now, that's the first time they've tried. They've got him outside on a bootleg where he fakes a play action and then goes away from it. He got outside clean. They got to keep him contained.
Georgia Southern College, they changed the name of the wishbone offense to the hambone offense.
We're going to do as much as he did.
Tracy Ham. Pass is complete to Stephan Jones for a first down, or at least very close to it, depending upon where they spot the ball. It appears to be at the Rough Rider 53-yard line. John Gregory's Saskatchewan Rough Riders came with the blitz. Richie Hall coming from his halfback position. Stephan Jones, the ex-Saskatchewan Rough Rider, ex-Ottawa Rough Rider, a key man in the passing attack of the Edmonton Eskimos, particularly with the retirement of Brian Kelly.
Well, he's been around a long time now. You know, it's funny how all of 1 year you're a veteran. Well, he's a veteran receiver there now, and he knows how to run the pattern.
First and 10. Ham gets to the outside. He'll take off. And he is doing what Joe Farragelli instructed him to do. Go down. Use the hook slide or get out of bounds. Don't take on any of those would-be tacklers.
Yeah, that's the best advice that he could give to Tracy Ham is to play your game the way you know how, and that means you're going to run. But when you run, use your head. When you're running down the field and you see all those green jerseys coming, don't take the hit. Hit the deck.
Second and 3. On the sidelines, Chris Johnstone is taken out of bounds by the experienced corner Harry Skipper. I think he is going to be short of a first down. Farragelli is pleading for a different spot. He told us today, all I've asked Tracy to do in this ball game is play within himself. Call the plays you feel comfortable with. And obviously, there have been a couple of plays in this ball game that Tracy Ham has felt very comfortable with.
Yeah, don't give him all these ideas of now you have to drop back. You have to do this. All you do is say to him, let him use his ability that he was born with. Go out there and do the things you feel comfortable with. And when you get into this game, the main thing is when you're running with the football, get down. But don't do anything you don't want to do.
Jerry
good advice.
Stands at his 51-yard line. Good kick into the wind. Richie Hall is going to let it bounce in the end zone, and he'll concede the single point. So the Edmonton Eskimos are on the board with 6:52 remaining in the opening quarter. Saskatchewan will scrimmage 1st and 10 when we return.
G'day. Canada sure is a sporting nation. This one's my favourite over here. Rap dancing. Of course, back home, our favourite sport is shark wrestling.
Shark wrestling?
10 Saskatchewan. They are at their own 35-yard line. Burgess with good protection. He completes the pass for a first down to Tim Kearse.
That's a pattern, Don, that just about everybody in the Canadian Football League throws, and it's a quick read for the quarterback, but the longer that he holds the football, the more his read will take him to the outside receiver. Now, you see the back going quick in the flat. Elgard comes into the middle. He didn't like them, so if you hold it, you got to give that receiver time to go down, turn to the inside, and find the hole.
1st and 10, the ball at the Saskatchewan 51-yard line. Penalty flag. There appeared to be some premature movement on the part of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Alex Carter is there to make the tackle. The procedure call against the Roughriders may have been the right tackle. It looked as though Victor Stevenson jumped.
62 Saskatchewan.
Vic Stevenson is the man who moved prior to that ball being snapped, a 6'4", 255-pound product from the University of Calgary. They feel they've got a very solid offensive line in Saskatchewan. Their one question mark was at left tackle with Ken Moore, but he has played well through the preseason and the first league game. Fake inside to McRae. Burgess going to the sidelines, well over the head of Ray McDonald.
Well, I'll tell you, McDonald ran a nice pattern. He went down the field on Stanley Blair, and he sold Blair on the deep one, and Blair turned to take off deep and fell down. And when McDonald turned to the outside, he was wide open. That's just a badly thrown football by the quarterback, but he was open.
McDonald, a newcomer last year. He's out of Florida. Previous NFL experience with both New England and Dallas. He joined the Roughriders on September 8, 1987. He had an immediate impact in the Rough Rider passing game. A lot of times it takes new receivers maybe half a season to feel comfortable in the CFL. Over the middle, intended for Ray Aguilar. I think he was the man that Burgess attempted to throw to, although initially he appeared to be looking deep. And one of the reasons that Burgess had to unload it was the play of Edmonton linebacker Larry Ruck, a former Saskatchewan Hilltop.
You're going to see also a blitz coming from the outside. Not only did the linebacker come and do his job, but Cliff Tony came, and that's more pressure. So Burgess tried to anticipate and laid it up high, just threw it too far.
This time, the Edmonton Eskimos send two deep for this third down kick by Terry Baker. Tom Richards joins Henry the Gizmo Williams, and Williams will retreat to the 6-yard line. He doesn't require much of an opening, and of course the Roughriders had to be aware of that as they forced him to the sidelines. Rick Klassen was the man who took him out of bounds.
Last because the underneath the artificial turf had disintegrated. It was like being tackled on a parking lot covered with indoor-outdoor carpet. There's a brand new surface here called OmniTurf. The riders picked it because they feel it approximates more closely than anything else on the market the conditions of natural grass. Very unique because it's anchored by 300 tons of very fine sand. You won't see it on your TV screen tonight, but this is what the players see when they're tackled. This effect of sand coming up. So a mouthful of sand is one of the hazards when you're tackled here tonight.
And early in the season, the Roughriders, prior to each game, watered down that OmniTurf. And that water drains very well off the OmniTurf, unlike other artificial turf surfaces where it has to be scraped off. On many occasions,
by 79, Gary Lewis.
They have to bring out a Zamboni unit to remove the water from the turf. Here it drains to the sidelines.
Yeah, it drains very, very rapidly. They say within 10 minutes or so, you won't get your feet wet again. That's amazing.
Second down play, a penalty flag. Deep intended for Sandusky, incomplete. It was over his head. It appeared as though Marco Sinkar moved out of his slot back position offside. 4:19 is the time remaining in the opening quarter. 3-1 Saskatchewan leads.
Edmonton number 27, decline, third down.
With the penalty against Sinkar and the incomplete pass, the Roughriders will get the football back as the Eskimos send out their punting unit. Richie Hall and Joe Fuller are dropping back for this third down kick. Hall, I think, has the distinction of being the smallest player in the Canadian Football League, 5'6", 160 pounds. Fuller will take the kick at the 35-yard line. And he's going to lose yards as he was upset by Blake Marshall back at the 30. He tried to get to the outside of Marshall, but Marshall, a very determined competitor from Western Ontario, drove through a loss of 5 on the return after a 42-yard kick by Jerry Corey.
You know, that's one of the reasons the Eskimos allowed Milton Jones to become expendable. When you have a guy like Blake Marshall, who was a Heck Crichton Trophy winner, and last year he did such a tremendous job on special teams, he is a fullback, a running back, and they want to get him experience. He's young. Milton was a veteran, so they made the change, and Blake Marshall's proud and happy of it.
Little animosity involved in the departure of Milton Jones. We'll tell you more about that. Burgess throwing for Ray McDonald, incomplete. McDonald was diving for that low throw in front of Don Wilson. The Eskimos had the luxury of having 5 Canadian running backs. Milton Jones was probably the highest paid, and he was the veteran. He was also a little overweight, according to the coaching staff when they had their preseason medicals. As a result, he was released, and he wound up contacting the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They were quite happy to get him. I was talking to Milson today. He said he only weighed 232 when he went in for his physical. He said that he now weighs 230, but he said last year his playing weight was around 220 pounds. So he did put on a few pounds during the offseason. There's no question about that.
Well, it's like, you know, all other things that happened this year. There's 2 sides to every story, and it really doesn't matter.
And it's usually the third one that counts.
Yeah, I just believe that they had to get these guys. You know, one of the things you tell a quarterback, you don't throw the ball on time and you get it in close in there where that safety man is coming, and 2 things will happen. It'll either be intercepted or there's going to be an injury. Usually the injury's to the receiver because he's looking for the football, but this time Wilson caught his ankle, and he went down limping a little bit, so we may not see him back in there for a while, and if we don't, then Junior Robinson started last year, so they'll be okay. A veteran football team.
Well, Joe Faragelli is familiar with the play of Don Wilson from his NFL days with Buffalo. Faragelli was there at the same time. Wilson joined the Edmonton Eskimos last year, 3 games into the 1987 season. Junior Robinson now moves into that safety position. 2nd and 10 for Saskatchewan. They are at their own 30-yard line. Burgess with time. It is intercepted. And Taylor is going to take it into the end zone. A 41-yard interception return by Danny Taylor. They've been attempting to work on this man through this opening quarter. And Danny Taylor that time aborted the pass intended for Ray Elgard and returned it 41 yards the other way.
Well, the new kid, watch the coverage. Elgard breaks to the outside. Now watch Taylor's position. He's right on his hip. The ball's thrown, step in front, good hands, he's off to the races. So the new kid met the challenge. He's ahead, 1-0 or 7-0, however you doing to defend it.
So with 3:29 remaining in this opening quarter, the interception return of 41 yards by Danny Taylor puts the Eskimos in front. It's 7-3, and they'll try for the point after. Jerry Carrick coming into the ball game. However, before they line up to attempt the extra point, they are going to be penalized. Obviously, they didn't have enough people on the field, so they took the time count violation, and the ball is moved 5 yards further back. It will be centered from the 10-yard line. The kick will come from the 17. Corrick with the point after. It's an 8-3 game. The Edmonton Eskimos ahead of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And that interception return by Danny Taylor has certainly quieted the crowd here at Taylor Field.
Well, you know, they're good fans here in Saskatchewan, but they have that wait-and-see attitude. You know, they went out and they beat Ottawa up pretty good last week, and everybody's anticipating a big game, but there hasn't been a whole lot of success against this Eskimo club. We're going to get a look at what the quarterback sees. Now, he looks down, he sees Junior Robinson, he goes to the outside, but watch Taylor. That's good defense. You know, maybe you can say it's a bad throw, should have been thrown here or there, but I'll tell you one thing, the defensive back played it as well as you can.
Danny Taylor, a starter for 3 seasons at the University of Texas, El Paso. He was drafted by the Cleveland Browns in May of 1986, attended their camp and saw some action in preseason, signed by the Eskimos as a free agent. This is an extended road trip for the Edmonton Eskimos. They play in Ottawa on Wednesday, and they'll fly directly to the nation's capital tomorrow. They won't return home after this game at Taylor Field. Some good hurdling there on the part of Albert Brown, but it really is all for naught because when he came down, he had Danny Taylor there waiting for him.
Well, that's good. You can almost bet a rookie's going to work the special teams. You know, linebackers and defensive backs, that's your speed. You want them covering those kicks. Taylor did a good job.
John Gregory has Albert Brown as his designated import for this game. He works on the special teams. He may see some duty as a defensive back as well. Burgess looking to the sidelines, and it is incomplete, intended for Conrad.
Burgess. Pass attempt to 37, David Conrad, incomplete.
Gary Columbus, the defensive tackle, may have got a hand on that ball.
Well, you're going to have a hard time on a play like that, double-teaming anybody up front, because once again, they brought Danny Taylor on a halfback blitz from the backside, and they did a good job front side, because usually somebody's open when a halfback blitzes, but the main thing, Columbus just took the guy and shoved him right back to the quarterback.
Ferdinand and Conrad are in at the 2 running back positions in place of McRae and Jones. Pass is incomplete. Over the middle, it was intended for James Ellingson. Don Wilson back in at that safety position after hobbling off a few plays ago with that sore ankle. And he is back in at safety, and he prevented that pass from being caught by Ellingson.
Yeah, he's got Elgard underneath. Ellingson comes in from behind. Now, you know, I said a while ago that the Eskimos kicked off against the wind. At this time of day at Taylor Field, the Riders are looking right back into that sun behind the stadium. Now, I don't know, but they've had 3 or 4 passes hit them in the hands, and they have dropped them. Now, I don't know if they don't see the football or what, but they're getting themselves in trouble.
Good kick by Baker. Williams takes it back at the 9-yard line. And he goes down at the 17. Maybe he got up to the 18-yard line. 2:16 is the time remaining. The first quarter score favors Edmonton. They lead at 8-3. Saskatchewan was first on the board with a field goal by David Ridgway, the 200th of his career. That 41-yard interception return after a Corrick single put the Eskimos in front. Tom Burgess looks a lot like Tom Clements. He wears the glasses, he has that studious look about him, and also that heavy beard that was a Tom Clements trademark.
I really believe if Tom Burgess can get the opportunity to hang in here for a couple of years and get some experience, he can be that good. He's got good mobility, and he doesn't have the great gun, say, of a Dieter Brock, but he can throw the football. And he's going to catch a lot of heck for this offense right now, but as we mentioned, he's throwing them. They got to catch him.
Number 8, Edmonton. First down, repeat.
Another time count violation against the Edmonton Eskimos, and it is a first down 15 situation now from the 15-yard line.
Well, you don't like to see that, looking from the Eskimos side when you're down in deep in your own end. That just puts you 5 yards closer to that goal line.
Tracy Ham is going to be dropped for a loss. The ball is loose, and it's recovered by the Edmonton Eskimos. Bobby Jurison and Gary Lewis got to the Edmonton quarterback. Jurison had a big game in his season opener with 2.5 sacks last week against Ottawa.
And they had a grand total of 7 sacks last week as a defensive unit. Tracy Ham missed his receiver. He had the guy open in the flat, and he's young. He missed him, and as a result, he holds the ball longer. That's going to allow that defensive line to get to you, and that is a good defensive line.
That loose ball was recovered by rookie Dave Richardson. From the end zone, Ham escapes the initial pressure. Does a good job of getting out to the 16-yard line. It appeared for a moment as though he was going to be trapped in the end zone for a possible safety touch. But he showed his athletic ability in running away from that pressure and getting the ball out to the 16.
Well, the sprint to the side. Now, there's Jurison's job. Keep him inside, which he did. Klassen, that's where he should be, but he missed the tackle. And now Ham, as you say, used the ability to run with the football. And instead of losing 2 points, he gains some yardage and gives him a chance to kick it away.
Well, we've told you Tracy Ham is out of Georgia Southern. An outstanding quarterback, a runner and a passer. And we'll meet Tracy Ham at halftime. Jerry Corrick is going to concede the safety touch with 28 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
Not a bad job. With 28 seconds left, if he kicks the football, we think back to his first punt when the Riders got it on the 30-yard line. If he punts in the end zone, they're going to be in field goal position right away to get some points. This way, give him 2, we'll kick off, and then play football with him.
Joe Farragelli, who has had head coaching experience in the CFL previously with both Saskatchewan and Montreal, and was an assistant coach with Winnipeg on 2 separate occasions and an assistant coach with the Edmonton Eskimos during their string of Grey Cup successes. John Gregory, a former assistant coach with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He was a head coach for a number of years at South Dakota State before taking over in Saskatchewan last year. Early in the season, in his rookie year as head coach, I think, if he was honest, he would admit that a couple of times he might have been outcoached.
Yeah, I think he made some mistakes, and I think that's normal for a guy in his first job as a head coach. But what I notice about him right now, he's not wearing the headset like he did last year. As he told us before, with Goldman and then with Hoffman, his offensive line coach, with their offensive staff now with experience, he feels more relaxed. He doesn't have to worry about the offense, and he can concentrate on the football game. That's what he's telling us before the game, and it makes a lot of sense.
We've seen a lot of safety touches this season. In our first game of the year involving Toronto and Hamilton, there were 3 of them. And with that conceded safety touch by Corrick, the Eskimos kick off. And Gary Columbus is there to make the tackle on Albert Brown, an 18-yard run back after a 53-yard kickoff.
Yeah, Columbus, I get a kick out of the thing we was talking about with him yesterday. All linemen are weightlifters, but I don't think anybody goes to the extreme that Gary Columbus does. He squats with the weight on his shoulder by amount of weight you can squat with. 1,000 pounds, and the world record was 1,010, and he missed it. But he was 320 pounds when he was doing that, and he reported at camp at 280. I'll tell you, that's something in off season. I'd say he's pretty strong.
It's a lot of weight to lose to get ready for the football season. Burgess running the ball. He is up to the 50-yard line. Bass and Ruck, the two linebackers, stopped him about a yard short of a first down. Roger Aldag, the veteran, at that guard spot, threw a good block, enabling Burgess to get upfield.
All right, there's a fake. Bootleg action. Here comes Aldag. Warren gets across deep and does his job, turns him back inside. Now, that is a pass or a run. I know Burgess would have liked to have gotten outside where you can throw it, but he was forced back into the action, and he turned it into almost a 10-yard gain.
2nd and 1. This will be the final play of the opening quarter. Penalty flag. Burgess keeps. He should have the first down, depending on the penalty call. Referee Ken Lazaruk and his staff sorting it out, and we'll wait for the signal from the field. The initial indication is that Edmonton was offside.
Offside. Edmonton 47. Offside.
Larry Ruck was the Edmonton linebacker who was offside, so the quarter cannot end on a penalty. Saskatchewan will get one more play with the wind at its back. Ruck, a product of that fine junior program in Saskatoon, a Hilltop grad. Both the Saskatoon Hilltops and the Regina Rams over the years have sent a number of fine players into the Canadian Football League.
I'd like to see him throw this deep.
Fairholm was the intended receiver. He would have made a sensational catch had he been able to hang on to that football, but with Tony all over him, he was unable to grab it. That's the end of the first quarter. And Saskatchewan battling here at Taylor Field for the right to move into a first-place tie in the Western Conference with the BC Lions. The Lions 44-31 last night over the Calgary Stampeders. Burgess over the middle, and it is a completion to Ellingson for a first down inside the 40-yard line. Don Wilson, the safety, was blitzing, and that's perhaps the reason that middle was open.
Well, if the receiver can get inside that defensive back, as you say, you take a look to the top right of your screen, number 20, Don Wilson, coming right up the middle. They created a seam for him. Burgess sees it. He knows he's going to get hit, but he's got to get off the football off. He made the throw, and Ellingson makes the catch. So a big first down for him. Good conversion.
1st and 10. Denny Ferdinand keeps on struggling to the 33-yard line. Brett Williams and Dan Bass finally stopped Ferdinand from advancing any further. Larry Ruck, the linebacker, is shaken up on the play, and that will probably mean that Mike McLean will come into the ball game as his replacement. Ruck, and this is how he got hurt. He took that hit head-on from Denny Ferdinand.
Took it right on the shoulder. Ferdinand was making the turn upfield, and he came up and met him straight on. Oh, he's talking about it.
(8-5) the score. Initially, Larry Ruck was drafted by the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he was traded to Edmonton in 1984. Mike McLean, out of the University of Alberta, a native of Red Deer and a 9th-round draft choice in 1985, will move in as Ruck's replacement at that linebacking position. The Eskimos have really stacked their defense with import players. Larry Ruck was the only non-import in their defensive unit. They were going with 11 Americans defensively. And, of course, with Ruck going out, Joe Farragelli sends in another non-import, Mike McLean, to take his spot.
Doesn't have any other Americans to send in.
13:53 remaining in the half. 2nd and 4. Burgess over the middle, complete to Ellingson again. loses the football, and it's knocked out of bounds. But I think they're going to rule that the play was dead when Ellingson went down.
Well, the big thing is, again, the Eskimos are blitzing halfbacks an awful lot tonight, and they blitz the halfback from the bottom of your screen. He comes on a blitz, and that's where Ellingson goes to catch the football. Okay, Burgess comes this way. At the top of the screen, you'll see the halfback on a blitz. Oh, pretty good hit by Schaefer, but Ellingson gets a step on his receiver, his man coming across, and there's nobody in that area.
At the 14, 1st and 10, little swing pass. Tim McRae is inside the 10 to the 8-yard line. Steve Benjamin was there to make the tackle. Tim McRae, the lone import in that Saskatchewan backfield. Like the Edmonton Eskimos, they could go with an all-Canadian group of running backs.
Sure, if they want to, with Conrad and Ferdinand and Milson Jones, they could very much do it if that was their wish. But right now, they like the way McRae's worked since the first day of camp, and he's got that speed.
They said he came in here determined to become a starting member of the Saskatchewan Football Club. Second down play, it's incomplete over the middle. Ellingson again, the intended receiver, and Don Wilson, the safety, came up to put the hit on him. 12:27 is the time remaining in this first half, and we could have a tie ball game as the field goal unit comes up.
Well, Don Wilson's got the size in there. He's not going to get shoved around. And when he decides to go, he's big enough at 6'2" and about 190 pounds. That's what Farragelli liked about him in Buffalo. And when he came up here, he said he's a very, very physical football player. So if you get that size and that speed in the middle of the field, he can make it tough on any receiver coming in there.
A 16-yard field goal try by Ridgway. He puts it through, and the score is tied at 8 with 12:11 remaining in the first half here at Taylor Field in Regina.
Well, we were getting married early in the year, discussed with some of the players and some of the coaches on the team, and it was suggested to me. We just kind of put some thoughts and ideas together, and here we are.
Good luck to you and Linda Fulmer, who is your bride-to-be, and we'll talk to you in the second half to see how the marriage is going.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Well, it isn't going to be the royal wedding that took place a week ago in Edmonton, Wayne Gretzky and Janet Jones, but it is going to take place before a much bigger crowd here at Taylor Field in Regina, as Ron Fisher from Saskatoon and Linda Fulmer, also of Saskatoon, exchange vows at halftime. Stephan Jones on the kickoff return, and Chris Skinner gets the ball, and Skinner will have a gain of maybe 7 or 8 yards as Chris Johnstone threw a good block, enabling Skinner to turn the corner.
Well, this is one of the things when you're on the defensive side of the football, you know Tracy Ham likes to roll out, so you've got to get the contain from those defensive ends upfield, and sometimes that'll happen. You'll be able to cut inside, as Skinner did, 6 up 6 yards, almost 7.
The ball is just across the 47-yard line. 8-8 is the score. The one touchdown on an interception return. Chris Johnson had to get just beyond the 50-yard line. Dave Albright and Joe Fuller attempted to prevent him from getting there, and it may be close enough to call for a measure. This is the home debut of the 1988 edition of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and there is renewed football interest in the Wheat Province following that successful season-opening 48-21 triumph over the Ottawa Roughriders. And should Saskatchewan come up with a win in this game, they would have a big crowd in attendance at Taylor Field for their next game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Well, you know, the strange thing about it, I didn't really consider them underdogs coming into this football game with Edmonton. I think the Saskatchewan Roughriders got a pretty good football club, and then when you get a rookie at quarterback, and, you know, Burgess is the starter, and even though he only has 3 years of experience, I figure that, you know, it's a toss-up. I don't think anybody's going to, walk away and hide.
The Riders will be at home next Friday to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Penalty flags at the line of scrimmage as Tracy Ham takes that pitch and tries to throw deep down the sideline for Chris Skinner, but there appeared to be all sorts of movement on the line of scrimmage, and it looked as though Trevor Bowles, the offensive right tackle, moved out of his three-point stance, much to the dismay of the boss man, Joe Farragelli.
Yeah, you're not too happy when you look like that, but the best thing about that play is when Tracy Ham threw it, he threw it out of bounds because his receiver was covered.
They ran the reverse. Chris Skinner giving it to Stefan Jones, who pitched it back to Tracy Ham, but there were flags flying all over the place prior to that play getting underway. With the incomplete pass, it is 2nd and 10. The Roughriders decline the penalty. Pressure on Ham. He throws complete to Jim Sandusky. First down at the 42-yard line. Sandusky missed the season opener against Calgary, as did Gizmo Williams. Sandusky, part of that trade that saw Matt Dunnigan go to the BC Lions, and what an asset he has been to Larry Donovan's club.
Well, you see him drive the receiver, now turn, find the hole inside. Skipper didn't want to let him in there, but he finally slid to the inside, and because there was time, he was able to make the catch.
Back to the live action. Stefan Jones, the intended receiver in the end zone. Mike Magruder was running stride for stride with him. It will be 2nd and 10. 9:52 remaining in the half. The score tied at 8. And it is number 8 directing the attack of the Edmonton Eskimos, Tracy Ham, who saw limited action last year following injuries to Matt Dunnigan and Damon Allen. And, of course, he took over late in the first half of the season opener against the Calgary Stampeders. Second and 10. Jurison is after Ham. And Eddie Lowe finally forces Ham out of bounds, but not before he got down to the 36-yard line. And that is only going to be about halfway to a first down.
Well, he got chased around inside. The defensive line got after him. Vince Goldsmith was coming from behind when Tracy Ham took off, and you always wonder if you know he's there, but if you stop, you'll find out in a hurry because Goldsmith will run right over him. But Eddie Lowe said he's had good years for him anyway. He's been their leading tackler before Albright got here, and he made a tackle, so he set up a field goal try.
The Edmonton Eskimos attempting to move in front as they line up in field goal formation. It will be a 44-yard try by Jerry Thorek. It's good. And the Edmonton Eskimos move into an 11-8 lead. Saskatchewan will be 1st and 10 when we return. Head coach of the Roughriders on December 19th, 1986. Joe Farragelli became head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos 2 games into the 1987 season, replacing Jackie Parker on July 6th last year. His first game was a 40-30 loss to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Denny Ferdinand quickly into the hole for a gain of 9 yards. Craig Schaefer and Dan Kearns combined to bring down Denny Ferdinand, the ex-Montreal Alouette. He played his junior football in Quebec.
Well, you know, Denny Ferdinand's one of those kind of guys, as we said. He played his junior football, and he came into the league very, very young. In fact, I think he has something like 3 years of junior ball remaining. He showed like he was going to be a great running back. Then the injury bug hit him, and he seems to be coming back because he's got good power.
2nd and 1, and Milson Jones with a good run for a first down to the 53 of the Eskimos. Brian Ellerbrun, the right tackle, threw a good block to get Jones through there. The right guard, I should say, Ellerbrun, lining up alongside Victor Stevenson. And something the Saskatchewan Roughriders do is alternate those running backs. They have 4 good ones to work with. McRae and Jones, who started the game, and solid backups in David Conrad and Denny Ferdinand.
Well, Ferdinand had a great game, or Conrad had a great game last week against Ottawa, catching the football.
Draw play with Ferdinand, searching for a hole, and he puts his head down and drives a couple of Edmonton defenders back to the 45-yard line. Dan Bass thought he had him stopped almost at the line of scrimmage.
Well, I think he's fully recovered from that knee injury he suffered last year, and the big thing about it, we talked about his power. That was a good example of it there. They got him a little bit of a crease, and as you say, Bass hit him, but he couldn't bring him down by himself.
Ferdinand and Conrad come out of the game. McRae and Milson Jones go in.
Just a handoff. He cuts back inside. Bass took him on straight on, but Ferdinand got the head and shoulders down and got underneath Bass and took him for a little bit of a ride. That's hard to do.
2nd and 2. It will be Milson Jones again. He is going to be stopped short, it would appear. But I think we might see the Roughriders gamble. depending on where they place the ball.
I think it's worth the gamble anyway. Punting against the wind, they're going to have to punt it. I think it's too far for the field goal. And if they're a little bit short, I think they're going to go after it.
Well, they're going to measure to see just how close the Roughriders are to a first down. It's 11-8. The Edmonton Eskimos leading. And they have about a foot for a first down.
Yeah, not much doubt about this one. I thought maybe it might be a yard or so and make a decision, but you got to be able to make this one.
The ball is at the 43-yard line. The Rough Rider offensive unit remains out there. They are gambling, trying to sustain this drive, trying to stretch it all the way into the Edmonton end zone. Burgess will keep. He'll drive straight ahead. He'll have the first down. Again, John Gregory sends in some different people in this first down situation. He juggles a number of people, both offensively and defensively.
Well, I think that's a good thing when you have veteran ball players. Like you talked in the opening about the defensive line. The reason they do that, they're all 5 veterans, all 5 experienced playing in the Canadian Football League. So allow them all to play. They all feel like they're contributing in them. The same with the running backs.
The Rough Riders on many occasions are in situations where they will line up playing 2 imports below the allotted quota. Denny Ferdinand, the ball carrier, and way downfield, a shoving match involving Ray Elgard and Danny Taylor. Those two have staging a bit of a battle since the start of the ball game.
Well, Elgard's a big guy, about 6'2" or 6'3" inside, and, you know, he wants to catch passes, and when he gets the opportunity, you know, he hadn't forgotten Taylor took that one away, so he's going to drill him when he gets a chance. And we'll see what they call here, but they were both involved.
Elgard, 6'3", 255 pounds, or 225.
Necessary roughness, 81 Saskatchewan. Necessary roughness from the 19 Edmonton after the play. Good go.
Offsetting penalties. Danny Taylor, 5'9", 180 pounds. So he gives way some height and some weight to the very aggressive slot back, Ray Elgard.
Yeah, we can't let them think they got you either. You know, you got to stand up for your area, your property. That's your ground over there.
5:48 is the time remaining in the half. 2nd and 8, Saskatchewan from the 40-yard line. Burgess is hit as he tried to throw, and there's a penalty flag. Carter made contact with Burgess, and it is going to be a rough play call against the Edmonton Eskimos.
Well, I'd like to see that. I don't really understand this call, but we'll take a look at it on the replay. From the reverse angle, Burgess back in the pocket. The rush is going to come from the backside. Here it comes. Well, unless they call him for grabbing the face mask or something, but he made good contact with him.
Carter had his arm up high on the quarterback,
Yeah,
right around the neck, on the head. That may have been the reason for the flag. So the Rough Riders continue the drive, 1st and 10 from the 25 of the Edmonton Eskimos. Jeff Fairholm in motion across the formation. Burgess throwing into the end zone, and it's incomplete. He was looking for Tim Kearse, and there appeared to be something of a mix-up, either on the part of the quarterback Burgess or the intended receiver Kearse.
Well, I think what caused the mix-up is that was a bootleg pattern again, where Tom's going to try to make the play-action fake and come outside. Eskimos did not allow him out there, and when he turned inside, the pressure was there. He was just going to try to guess with the receiver. He threw it long. The only good thing, there was nobody back there. So there's no sack, no interference, no interception. That's the big thing.
Burgess had 4 touchdown throws in his first game of the year against Ottawa. He's still looking for #1 in this 2nd game of the season. He may get it here. No, it's going to be close to being intercepted. As a matter of fact, Blair appears to have the football, and he celebrates as he heads to the bench. He took it away from Ray McDonald. So, with that interception by Stanley Blair, the Eskimos snuff out a Rider drive. At halftime, following our CBC News update, Saskatchewan General Manager Bill Baker will guest live with Scott Oak. We'll meet Tracy Ham, the Edmonton quarterback, And we'll have highlights and statistics of the first half that the Edmonton Eskimos currently lead by 3 points, 11-8. 2 big interceptions for the Eskimos, the most recent by Stanley Blair. They have the football, and Tom Richards will have what appears to be a first down as he's stopped by Steve Crane taking the pass from Tracy Ham.
Roughriders is first down, Edmonton. And the
Saskatchewan fans, both inside and outside Taylor Field. Wonder if the Rider Management Committee has gone over and at least tried to sell those fellas a bingo ticket.
That they better make a bingo because they're not buying any season tickets. They got great seats.
Tracy Ham is under pressure. Joe Fuller from the blitz, and Ham throws it to the sidelines, out of bounds. He was throwing that one away, but he did have a receiver in the area.
Well, they brought Fuller on that halfback blitz again. These teams love to go after that quarterback. But watch Tracy Ham now as he's going to make the fake. There's the fake. Now he's going to try to get outside, but number 24 is in there, and there's nobody to block him. I think Ham does a great job getting away. He was throwing it to that girl in the first row of the bleachers because that's where it should have been thrown. That's a good play.
Well, we talked about the Rough Rider bingo. On August the 27th, they're going to stage a monster bingo in the province of Saskatchewan, giving away $500,000 in prizes.
That's not bad.
Tracy Ham to the sidelines, and Tom Richards is going to be stopped short of a first down by safety Glenn Suter. Well, it is a fine football evening here at Taylor Field. Not nearly as warm, though, as it was yesterday when the mercury nudged 38 degrees.
And without any wind. And when you don't have wind here on the prairies, it gets pretty hot. And we were out on that turf yesterday getting a bird's eye view of it, and it was extremely hot down there.
Excellent kick by Corrick. Richie Hall retreats to his 23-yard line. And Hall is stopped as he got up to the 38. Mike McLean was the man who made contact with him. Well, Tom Burgess, as we mentioned, had 4 touchdown passes against Ottawa. He hasn't been able to find one of his own teammates in the end zone tonight, but he's thrown 2 into the arms of Edmonton defenders. 1 that was returned for a touchdown by Danny Taylor.
The strange thing, he threw 4 touchdowns that game, and he's only thrown 12 in his whole career. So that's a pretty big game for him. No wonder he was the offensive star of the week.
A 41-yard touchdown return by that man, Danny Taylor. The Rider coaching staff expect that Tom Burgess this season will experience some peaks and valleys. McDonald was the intended receiver. He was being bumped down those sidelines by Stanley Blair. Blair did a good job working on him. 2:51 is the time remaining in the half. The Eskimos clinging to a 3-point lead. And white for the Saskatchewan Roughriders this season, and the coaching staff feel that they really got a bonus in Jeff Fairholm, their #1 draft choice, moving into a starting slot back position. They didn't feel he would be ready when they initially drafted him to start as a slot back until midway through the season. Burgess trying to get that first down. He'll have a gain of 8. Craig Schaefer, the linebacker out of Indiana, came over to make the tackle.
You know, you talk about Tom Burgess and the peaks and valleys of a quarterback. You know, all coaches want that quarterback to be consistent. You're only going to be consistent when you have the experience and the know-how and be able to recognize defenses and feel comfortable in the game. They're worried with Burgess that he'll have a good game, a bad game, then maybe a great game, and then an awful game. And you strive for consistency with, you know, your quarterback in particular. But as you talk about Fairholm, you're right. You know, it's tough to have a kid come in here and start in the first game as a rookie.
Pressure on punter Terry Baker. The ball bounces away from Williams. And Williams covers up that football. Jeff Treplin had definitely been within that 5-yard area, but he tried to vacate the zone and did not get involved in the play. So it may be that there will be no penalty here.
Jeff Treplin did the wise thing. He was in there, and he just continued right on through.
Penalty is waived. The player did not involve himself.
I'm glad Ken Lazarick and the officiating staff agreed with us.
Oh, they're paying attention. You see the ball bouncing around. Now, Jeff Treflin is in there. He makes no attempt to harm anything, get anybody away. Just run right through and don't get involved in the play. That way the penalty's washed out.
2:10 is the time remaining from the 24-yard line. Tracy Ham throws over the middle. This is intercepted. Richie Hall picks it off. It was intended for Rick House.
Well, they got the pressure on him. They pulled that rollout up. They made him pull up inside. And when he threw the football, Richie Hall was clearly in front of him. Get a good look at it. You see it on the wide side of the field. There's the end upfield. That's Vince Goldsmith. Watch where Richie Hall is. Already underneath Rick House. That's an easy interception for the Riders.
1st and 10, Saskatchewan, as we look again at the play on the reverse angle. James Curry was after Tracy Ham. Had he got the sack, would they have called it curried ham? Tim McRae on the receiving end of the throw, stopped at the 30-yard line. Cliff Toney made the tackle. Well, the Roughriders would like to duplicate the performance that they had on October 18th last year. When you get that many turnovers, you should win a football game.
I'd say the odds would go in your favor.
Richie Hall providing the Roughriders with their first turnover of the night. Now it's up to the offense to try and capitalize. Nelson Jones gets the first down to the 24. Gary Lewis had come into the ball game in that short yardage lineup, and he opened a pretty good hole for Milson Jones, who ran right out of his shoe.
They blocked down with that end in the tackle and pulled Roger Aldag to guard up through it and kick out with the back. And that's a good play. Off tackle, get Milson Jones a little bit of a seam. He got through it.
1:24 remaining in the half. 1st and 10 from the 24-yard line. Toney blitzing, and coming through as well is Brent Williams and the toaster. Drop Burgess back at the 30-yard line.
You know, we talk about him in the opening, that in that inside spot, the defensive tackle, it's very difficult to get sacks. That time, the quarterback, Burgess, did not get a deep enough drop, and it allowed Williams then to get close enough for it.
For a brief period last year, he was a member of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. When the Montreal Alouette franchise folded, he was claimed by Saskatchewan, subsequently dealt to the BC Lions, and then traded this year to Edmonton. Burgess throwing over the middle. It's incomplete. In and out of the arms of Milson Jones, who was hit by middle linebacker Dan Bass. You know, the Edmonton Eskimos over the years have had a tradition of outstanding middle linebackers. Dan Kepley, and then this other Dan Bass.
And they got Dan Bass in the Calgary Stampeders, and you see right here, as he started to his left, and he made his drop, and Milson Jones come underneath him. And when you come underneath the middle linebacker, you're going to get hit.
Dave Ridgway attempting his 3rd field goal of the game from 37 yards out. It's good. And the score is tied again at 11 with 50 seconds remaining. So Ridgway has contributed 9 points to the Rough Rider attack. The other 2 points coming on a safety touch. He is now just 5 points away from becoming the Saskatchewan Roughriders' all-time leading scorer. Only Jack Abenchan with 863 points is more. Chris Skinner trying to follow some blocking on that left side, and he doesn't get an opportunity to turn his shoulders upfield as Bobby Jurison and Eddie Lowe were there to bring him down.
Also, the outside linebacker, Steve Crane, got upfield and forced that play to slow down, and that allows those guys to come from behind, as Eddie Lowe did from the linebacker backside, and make the tackle.
Eddie Lowe making the tackle, and again, we remind you at our halftime break, we'll have Bill Baker guesting live with Scott Oaten. And we'll also have a feature on Tracy Ham, who just delivered that pass into the arms of Rick House for a big gain up to the 53-yard line. Stopped there by Glenn Suter.
That's what you call experience that House just showed. Down the field, he's looking as he's going. He sees a big hole in the zone. He stops right in the middle of it.
Eddie Lowe pressuring Ham. Ham loses the football as he's tackled, and Jurison comes up with it. It appeared to be Rick Clausen who caused the fumble, but Bobby Jurison has the ball.
Well, a quick count in the hurry-up offense, a sprint to the left. There's the pressure from Lowe, back upfield. You're right, it's Clausen reaches out, pulls him, and the ball comes right out of the arm. He got that right arm of Clausen's over top of Ham's right hand, and he pulled it out of there.
Well, Jurison, along with Goldsmith, Gary Lewis, Clausen, and James Curry, alternate at those 4 down lineman positions. Burgess to Elgar, out of bounds with a first down in front of Donnie Taylor.
I think they need a few more yards to get into field goal position. 25 seconds, you got a lot of time till the clock is stopped. Right now, it might be a little bit too far into that wind, but they got plenty of time.
John Gregory glances at the scoreboard clock. 25 seconds remaining. The clock will not start until the ball is snapped as Elgard. Elgard went out of bounds after making that catch. The draw play with Tim McRae. And McRae drives to the 36-yard line. 22 seconds remain. Burgess trying to run that hurry-up offense.
That one went out of bounds on the reception by Elgard. The clock stopped, so you huddled. Now it's going to go as soon as that referee blows the whistle. So let's get the play call.
22 seconds showed when the play started. Movement at the line of scrimmage on the part of the Eskimos. Burgess completes to Milson Jones. That'll be a first down at the 27. 12 seconds remain. Danny Taylor came over to make the tackle. Ridgway getting set if he should be called upon for a 4th field goal attempt. He is 3 for 3 so far. Burgess into the end zone. Elgard can't catch up with it. 3 seconds remain, and John Gregory gives the signal to Dave Ridgway to try and put the Roughriders in front before they head to the dressing room. This will be a 35-yard field goal try.
That wasn't a bad call either. Burgess sprinted to his left, has Elgard going straight down the field. He knew he was going to have time for one more play. He took a shot at the touchdown, just overthrew it.
Field goal attempt. It's good. 4 for 4 in the field goal department is Dave Ridgway, and at the halftime break, the Roughriders lead it 14-11. Now, stay tuned for our halftime show.
CBC Sports presents Inside the CFL.
Saskatchewan 14, Edmonton 11 at the half, and we welcome you to Inside the CFL. When you haven't made the playoffs in 11 years, you have to work about 11 times as hard to maintain interest in the community. There was serious concern about this franchise a couple of years ago, concern the Riders had lost complete touch with Saskatchewan. It's not easy street out here now, but in the last couple of years, General Manager Bill Baker and his staff have hit just about every banquet, every business in the province, and he's laughing now because there's wedding music behind us. But Bill Baker is... I've been turned down. Bill Baker is here to tell us about the benefits of driving around the province 3 or 4 times over. Bill, how much better shape is this franchise in now than it was, say, a year ago?
Oh, I think we're in a lot better shape. And the important thing is we have the volunteers behind us. We have a volunteer wedding behind us going on right now. I think we're back again. We're united again. I think we're going to have a great year, and we're back. I think as a winning, we're going to be winning on the field as well as off the field.
Let's put this marketing job into perspective. If you're a fan who was 10 in 1977, you're 21 now, you've never seen the Riders in the playoffs.
Right.
That could be the hardest sell in all of North American pro sports.
No question. And what we're trying to do right now, we're working very hard on it, is getting the families back in our park. And every program we do is aimed towards the families, aimed towards a parent bringing a child to the game, or aimed towards a child coming to the game. But all of our new programs are aimed towards the family and the children.
And the bottom line is this. You can have all the lotteries, bingos, and telethons you want. Sooner or later, you have to win.
We got to win, and 11 years is enough for anybody, including me.
I know that you think this team can do it. Yesterday you told us that you can't think of one position currently occupied by a Canadian that you'd replace with an American. That says something about how strong you think this team is.
I think we have great talent. We've got a bunch of mature people. We're way ahead of last year. I think we're going to lose some games, but in November we'll be in the playoffs, and I think all of our fans deserve it. As I said before, 11 years is enough.
And a 3-point lead over the Grey Cup champions at the half looks good.
We'll take it. It's kind of the quarterback, the duel of the young quarterbacks. Ham's made some mistakes, so has Burgess. I think it's a pretty even game, and I'm dying to get the second half underway, and it's going to be a great second half.
Bill Baker, thanks for joining us on Inside the CFL.
Thank you.
Stay with us. When we come back on Inside the CFL, we'll meet the young quarterback. The Edmonton Eskimos hope can be another great for them. Welcome back. In the Eskimo scheme of things, quarterbacks serve apprenticeships. Warren Moon under Tom Wilkinson, for example, and most recently Tracy Ham under Damon Allen. The Eskimos have always believed that Tracy Ham can play, but his apprenticeship has been cut short. He is now the Eskimos starting quarterback. Chris Cuthbert has prepared a feature report on the new Eskimo starter. Chris?
Reflect on the success of the Edmonton Eskimos, and a common thread emerges: strength and depth at quarterback. From the 50s, when Jackie Parker and Don Getty split the duties. The dynasty years of Tom Wilkinson and Warren Moon sharing the honors and success. To recent times, in the combination of Matt Dunnigan and Damon Allen. The Eskimos have a knack for recruiting quarterbacks, so Tracy Ham's impressive performance against Calgary in the season opener wasn't too much of a surprise. Ham had a can't-miss label after leading Georgia Southern to 2 National Division IIA titles, the only U.S. college quarterback ever to rush for over 3,000 yards and pass for over 5,000 yards in a career. That record even earned rave reviews in Sports Illustrated.
Man, the Lord has really blessed me because I've been in championships through the last 3 years, including the one with the Eskimo. That'll be 3. So I was in a situation in college where that I always had to perform on a regular basis, week in and week out, and it has it was rough at times and it was good at times, but I think in the long run I was pleased with what went on in my college career.
But star status in college didn't mean starting status in the CFL. Last year, Tracy was number 3 on the depth chart, behind Dunnigan and Allen.
By being an athlete and watching other people compete, you want to get into action and compete also. But I think that's when maturity got to step in. You got to learn to take a back seat sometimes to say and look at what's going on and see how you would fit in the situation. So it was good in that sense, and I wanted to play. That wasn't the problem. It's just that I think that I have had to learn some things before I stepped in and played. I think I had the wrong attitude last year going into practice. You know, I didn't feel like I was going to play in it. I didn't put much emphasis on practice. I would go with practice in a laid-back mood, and so I think that's where I got that not a practice player from.
This year, his attitude has changed. Ham learned from Allen that a backup must always be prepared, and Tracy was when opportunity knocked, and Allen was knocked out against the Stampeders.
I think the first thing you learn by being a football player is that you get put in unfortunate situations, and it was unfortunate Damon got hurt, but that's a part of football, and I think all football players realize that. And when people get injured, it's always an opportunity for the next man in line to come in and play.
And if Ham can repeat the success he enjoyed in the opener, another Eskimo tradition will continue: controversy over which quarterback should start.
But I think it's a good situation because me and Damon have a good relationship with each other as far as friends, and we understand what our job is, and that's to win ball games and keep points on the board. I think the media and the fans will take care of who should start. They will form their own opinion of who should be doing what, but I think Joe will have the right guy on the field at the right time.
And with Damon Allen out, the right man on the field is Tracy Ham. Chris Cuthbert reporting for Inside the CFL.
Thank you, Chris. The right man for the job, Tracy Ham is, but he's going to have to bring the Eskimos from behind in the second half. Let's go to Don and Ron for some analysis of a first half that has Saskatchewan in front by a field goal. Don?
Well, Scott, I think both quarterbacks, Tracy Ham and Tom Burgess, would like to have a couple of passes back. One led directly to a touchdown, the other led to the field goal. that put the Saskatchewan Roughriders ahead. I'm referring to those interceptions.
Yeah, the interception would have been the key to this football game. Tracy Hams had a fumble, but the interception. But the big one was Tom Burgess. As he tries to throw to Ray Elgard, pick on the rookie in the secondary, and Danny Taylor plays it extremely well. He sits on that inside hip, and when the ball's thrown, he steps in front, picks it off. He got an easy 41-yard run into the end zone, and that's the only touchdown of the football game.
From the outset, it appeared obvious that the Roughriders were going to try and work on the rookie in the secondary.
Oh, anytime you get a shot at those rookies, you got to go after them. You got to find out if they can play, and if they can't, you better get them before somebody else does, because they won't be there long. But I think Danny Taylor's a good one.
Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, with Dave Ridgway kicking 4 field goals, lead it by a score of 14-11. Scott?
All right, Don, 2 more games on the CFL on CBC schedule in the week ahead. On Thursday night, we'll be in Toronto at Exhibition Stadium for a game between Matt Dunnigan and the unbeaten BC Lions as they face the Argonauts. That game will be at 7 Eastern. At 8 Eastern on Saturday night, we'll be in Calgary as the Ticats face the Stampeders in their home opener. The second half kickoff is next.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Carling O'Keefe, brewers of Foster's Lager, the Golden Grove Charmer. Petro-Canada dealers and agents. Our energy is Canada. And by Priority Post EMS Courier, your better business connection in Canada and around the world.
Statistically, the Saskatchewan Roughriders had the edge in the first half, with more first downs, more passing yardage, and more rushing yardage. Both sides turned the ball over on 2 occasions, 2 interceptions charged against Saskatchewan, an interception and a fumble for the Edmonton Eskimos. And the Roughriders also had the football for over 5 minutes more than the Edmonton Eskimos, but their lead is only 3 points as Jerry Corrick prepares to kick off to start the second half. McRae and Brown are back for this Corrick kickoff, and Brown will field it at the 28-yard line. He is hit, it pops loose, and it appears that Spallettini came up with the ball. Indeed, he did. Craig Schaefer put the hit on Albert Brown, and that ball went flying a good 10 yards back towards the Rider goal line.
Well, when it flies back that far, you know the hit was directly on the football because Craig Schaefer, as you said, he comes here as Brown cuts back to the inside. He thinks he sees a hole. Marshall kind of slows him down a little bit, but it was Schaefer's head that popped that football that Spallettini just grabbed.
So the Eskimos are 1st and 10, movement at the line of scrimmage. James Curry is in the backfield prior to the ball being snapped.
Offside, Saskatchewan 78. First down repeated.
It's now 1st and 5, down at the 27-yard line. Helmet making contact with the football, and usually the helmet wins.
Yeah, he's going to win most of the time. I mean, that football might be hard, but it's not as hard as one of those helmets.
First and 5. Tracy Ham is looking for Stephen Jones. It's incomplete. It appeared as though Fuller was going to come down with the interception. I think Jones did a pretty good job of taking that ball away from him.
Well, I think the first thing the Riders did is went to a zone defense, and that set Joe Fuller to the deep outside. He did his job and got back and was in perfect position to intercept the ball. And as you say, the receiver turns defender when he can't get the ball. If you can't catch it, don't let them have it.
Second and 5 to the sidelines, and Stephan Jones gets the first down before being forced out by Magruder, but there was also a penalty flag. And it's a holding call against the Eskimos, so that will negate an Edmonton first down and force the Eskimos back to 2nd and 15.
Edmonton number 50, second down repeated.
Blake Dermott, a 6'3", 255-pounder out of the University of Alberta, a 1983 territorial exemption. He plays that left guard spot, was guilty of holding.
Personnel to the timekeepers area, please.
2nd and 15 now. And trying to get to the outside. There's another penalty flag and likely another holding call against Edmonton. So again, a solid effort by Tracy Ham will probably go for naught.
Saw a little bit of his moves right there running the football. He didn't get outside, and that's what Ted Heath, the defensive line coach for Saskatchewan, told us yesterday. They've got to keep him inside. They forced him inside, but you saw a little bit of that wiggle that he has.
Chris Johnstone was guilty of the holding. Richie Hall is the injured Saskatchewan Roughrider. And penalties have really proven costly to the Edmonton Eskimos. They had a chance here to perhaps put it in the end zone or at worst come away with a field goal. And now they have moved out of field goal range with successive holding infractions.
Yeah, when you have a rookie quarterback, you want things to go right. They have the ball down there with a 1st and 10 on around the 32-yard line. Then you don't want to make mistakes. You want to just methodically either run it, pass it, put it in that end zone. But as you say, the penalties have got him right now, I believe, out of field goal range.
John Gregory will substitute Jeff Treflin for Richie Hall. Treflin will actually move into the safety position, and Glenn Suter will go over into Hall's halfback spot. 5'6", 160 pounds out of Colorado State. Second and 25. The ball at the Saskatchewan Roughrider 47-yard line. The Riders leading by a score of 14-11. The Eskimos pick up the blitz by Eddie Lowe, but Vince Goldsmith is not taken care of coming from the other side.
Well, we said before the game, Don, that the Riders' defensive line was going to hold the key to this football game as far as they were concerned. This time again, Goldsmith gets upfield. Here he comes. Here comes Ham, and here comes number 70. Get deep. All right, now he's in trouble. He's in the middle of the pack. They force him to pull it down, and again, by that time, Goldsmith comes around and makes a sack. But that's what they wanted to do to Ham tonight, and they're having pretty good success.
Goldsmith, the all-time Roughrider sack leader. He had 54 coming into the game. One more than George Wells. This is Joe Fuller on the punt return. They're trying to set it up to the left. He had to escape a couple of people before he could find much running room, and then the gap was quickly closed by Dan Kearns. 12:52 is the time remaining in the third quarter. As we said earlier in our telecast, young quarterbacks lack consistency. I think we've seen evidence of that from both Tom Burgess and Tracy Ham tonight.
Yeah, when you talk about it, it's hard to not emphasize that fact that any one of them could have come up hot tonight and had a great game, but the odds were more in favor of having a so-so game because, as you say, inconsistency, not familiar enough with the league. Tom Burgess has played a little bit better. Ham hasn't seemed to relax yet.
Nelson Jones takes the handoff, and Craig Schaefer and Dan Bass are there immediately. They halt his advancement after a gain of a yard and a half, maybe 2 yards. Craig Schaefer, last year, joined the Edmonton Eskimos from Ottawa partway through the season. He played 7 of the last 8 games and was part of their Grey Cup championship. He initially was with Edmonton, then went to the Ottawa Roughriders on the equalization drive. Elgard, first down up to the 40-yard line, taking the throw in front of Don Wilson.
That kind of defense right there, Don, is called man safety free. That means the halfbacks in that play man-to-man, and Wilson sits right in the middle and watches the quarterback. Now, you see, Elgard will beat Taylor on the hook, but now when he cocks the arm to throw, Wilson takes off to the receiver, and he makes a good hit on Elgard, but not before he gets the first down.
First and 10 from the 40, draw play with Tim McCray. McCray fumbles the football. I think Edmonton has it. Yes, they do at the 45-yard line. Craig Schaefer comes up with the football.
Well, they dodged that bullet on the opening kickoff of the second half when Schaefer caused a fumble. Now, again, it looks like they're going to get themselves out of trouble, and Tim McCray fumbles the football. Looked like just trying to extend when he swung that left arm, the ball slipped out. So once again, the Eskimos have good field position, and this is where Farragelli's going to want them to put it in the end zone and take their time.
Well, our reverse angle camera gave us a good view of that fumble, and now we see Tracy Ham dump it off to Chris Johnstone down to the 21-yard line. It appeared as though Tracy Ham was in all sorts of trouble. Somehow, with those quick feet and his elusiveness, he managed to escape 3 Roughriders and dump it off to Chris Johnstone. Chris Schaefer made that play possible with his fumble recovery.
He was in a little bit of trouble back there. He was a little bit lucky escaping the 2, but as you say, the quick feet got him out of that trouble, and at the last second saw Johnstone.
10:44 remaining in the third quarter. Tracy Ham looking to the corner. Stefan Jones is there for a first down inside the 10. Mike Magruder and Joe Fuller came over to make the tackle. You know, we were talking with the coaching staff prior to the game, and the offensive coordinator, Steve Goldman, was saying quarterbacks have so much more to learn in that the defenses have changed rather dramatically over the last 4 or 5 years in the CFL.
Yeah, the days are gone when they just play 1 or 2 defenses for that game. They give them about 6 or 7 different looks all the time. So the quarterback has to be able to see all that and then make the right choice. It takes a little bit of time.
Tracy Ham was looking into the end zone for Rick House. It's incomplete. He again was under pressure. And the young quarterback has to pick up those defenses that will roll to one side or the other, and you just don't get the same look 2 plays in a row, it would appear.
Yeah, if you roll to one side and they rolled over there with you with that safety man going over the top or deep, then you immediately have to know to come back side. There's all kinds of things for him to learn, and it takes him a while. But the big thing Saskatchewan doing is not letting him outside.
Second and goal from the 8, looking into the end zone, off the fingertips again of Rick House, the intended receiver.
See, again, Goldsmith got upfield, and when Ham turned in, Eddie Lowe's coming on the pursuit. Ham had to throw it high, and as a result, no touchdown.
9:44 remaining in the quarter. A field goal try upcoming from Jerry Corrick.
You see what happens when you get back inside where the traffic is. The receiver, House, is wide open if the ball's thrown down where it's catchable, but you got to give credit to the Saskatchewan defense for causing that.
House, after his teaching degree, he has been going to school in the off-season at the University of Manitoba. He lives in Winnipeg during the winter months. Field goal try by Corrick, and we are again tied at 14. There is also a penalty flag on the play. We're waiting for the indication from the field, as is Joe Farragelli. Is it against Edmonton or Saskatchewan?
Oh, they're talking to Saskatchewan. I'd say it's Edmonton. Gregory's already decided. Put him back.
As you pointed out earlier, John Gregory this year is not wearing the headset. There were many occasions during the course of his rookie year when he would wander out in the field and would get rather excited. He thought he was going to strangle himself.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times last year, you know, when he had that headset on, he's talking to the offensive coach, and as he told us, he was concerned with the offensive performance by his team. But as being the head coach, he also has to know the defense, and it's very hard to concentrate on 2 things, plus think ahead. So, no one, he never did really just hang himself, but he came close a few times.
Well, they are going to have him kick it again. Hector Potier, the veteran offensive tackle of the Edmonton Eskimos, came to the club in 1978, 10 years ago, from Montreal.
You know, that is amazing when you think of Bill Stevenson backing up and Kevin Powell backing up. You know, everybody assumes that the backup people are the young people waiting their chance to play. Well, 14 years experience of Stevenson's and 10s of Kevin Powell, that's 24 years. So I guess if they needed him to go in, they'd know what to do, wouldn't they?
Well, they were kidding Bill Stevenson prior to the game about being the old man of the CFL. And Stevenson will be celebrating his 36th birthday in September. Or is it number 37?
At this point, it doesn't matter. I mean, an offensive lineman, he's got all that experience. He can play a long time.
Corrick from 5 yards further back, and again, he puts it through. And no flags this time, and the score is tied at 14 with 9 minutes left. 14-14 the score. The ball at the 35-yard line. Saskatchewan 1st and 10. Tim Kearse goes wide left. Ray McDonald comes out to the right. Jones and Tim McRae, the running backs. Spread action by Burgess, but Columbus is there to stop him before he could get to the outside.
Milson Jones was up there to try to block him. He had no chance. He came outside. He just shoved him out of the way. We talked about his strength earlier. It's going to take a big man to knock him down. Burgess sprints to his right. There goes Williams. Just shoved him out of the way, and there he is. Someone beat up on Milson Jones. It was an offensive lineman. In fact, I think it was Vic Stevenson, the right tackle, that he had the problem with.
Look at the biceps on Columbus. They're bigger than most people's thighs. Ray McDonald, he's got it.
You remember what happened a while ago, Don Wilson sat in the middle, and he bit on a hook pattern to Ray Elgard. This time, Burgess called the same exact pattern, and he sent his wide receiver deep. He looked at Wilson. Wilson bit on it. He went right over his head into the middle. You see Wilson hanging around in that hook area. There goes the wide receiver to the post, and he is open, and Wilson's nowhere to be found.
A gain of 43 for Ray McDonald and a first down Saskatchewan at the Edmonton 40-yard line. Burgess to the outside again. And Lee Blair this time almost got some revenge on Ray McDonald, the intended receiver.
Good coverage by Blair, and in fact, the ball should not have been thrown. He had a better position to intercept the football than the receiver had to catch it.
Quarterback Burgess was under pressure as he attempted to sprint to the outside.
Watch the hook. There's the hook. He slides inside. Watch Stanley Blair underneath it. He's got better position than the receiver.
2nd and 10 from the 40-yard line. Tim Kearse has a first down at the 22. Well, Tim Burgess in the second half is beginning to show some of the form he displayed in that season-opening win over the Ottawa Roughriders.
Well, they hadn't been throwing the ball much to the wide receivers. They've been going to the backs and trying to go to Elgard and Ellingson. They've gone to work from the Edmonton standpoint of taking the slot backs out of the offense, so they've made their two big plays by going to the right side to McDonald, left side to Kearse.
6:52 remaining in the third quarter. 1st and 10 Saskatchewan. Draw play with Tim McRae. And McRae is going to be stopped at the 18-yard line by Larry Ruck.
Well, and that action goes away from him as we saw that time. Burgess went to his right. The backside linebacker, in this case Larry Ruck, should be coming across right behind that line and be in a position to take anything that comes back into the middle, and he was there.
The man with the clipboard standing in behind Coach John Gregory is third-string quarterback Jeff Bentram, a rookie last year from North Dakota. Schaefer blitzing. Burgess throwing over the middle. There's a penalty flag as Elgard was the intended receiver. He was covered by Don Wilson. The holding call will go against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That time they turned and let Larry Ruck run with the inside receiver. He was way in the end zone with the green jersey. And Wilson's up in the linebacker position, almost intercepting the football.
Well, when you talk about peaks and valleys in the quarterbacks.
Hold on. Saskatchewan number 66. Decline. Third down.
Peaks and valleys in the performance of the quarterbacks in this drive. Burgess was at one of those peaks.
Yeah, you hit a couple big patterns to keep it alive. And you saw Wilson right here in his safety position. You know what defensive backs do is when they're free like that, they look at the quarterback's eyes. They watch him just as much as the quarterback looks at him. And that time he outguessed the receiver. He got to the spot first.
Jack Abenchan is 5 for 5, and the Roughriders have a 17-14 lead. And Abenchan, Ridgway becomes the all-time leading Roughrider kicker ahead of Abenchan. Well, obviously, it is Dave Ridgway who is 5 for 5. Jack Abenchan is the man he has supplanted as the Roughriders' all-time leading scorer. 864 career points now for Dave Ridgway with his 5 for 5 performance, and the Roughriders' 17-14 lead. Saskatchewan's other points coming on a safety touch in the first quarter. Tracy Ham won't get a chance to throw. Curry and Lewis make the sack.
You know, Don, you talked earlier about the 5 defensive linemen of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and you have 5 good ones as they feel they have, and they get that 12-minute rest during a football game. When they get to the 4th quarter, they're fresh. And then you see right now, 4 of them are putting the pressure on. They're not blitzing any linebackers here. It's just 4 defensive linemen. And that means 8 men downfield did their job, and there they are. 2 defensive linemen on the sack. That's a big plus for them as this season goes along.
Tom Gregory feels that in many games in the 4th quarter, those front 4 have showed signs of being tired. Pass was intended for Stephan Jones. Excellent coverage by Mike Magruder.
I really believe that the Saskatchewan defense has completely shut down the offense. I can't think of any real big plays the Eskimo offense has made. They have got to break some fumbles and the interceptions, but they have not moved the football, and that's a credit to the defense.
5:04 is the time remaining. The Edmonton Eskimos play their next game on Wednesday night in Ottawa against the Roughriders. Saskatchewan will be at home on Friday against Winnipeg. Richie Hall takes it at the 44. And he spun out of bounds at the 52. That was a 36-yard punt by Jerry Corrick. He and Dan Rashovich were exchanging some words back at about the 40-yard line as Corrick was attempting to make his way downfield. Well, the Flame, who has been a long-time Rough Riders supporter, is holding our CBC Sports banner. And, of course, the green and white-clad Saskatchewan fans are delighted with what they have witnessed so far here at Taylor Field. Very few have gone to the extreme of the Flame, and not only wearing green, but painting their face white as well.
I know this. The Riders got good field position on that exchange again. So, again, they're at midfield with a chance to add more points, you know, with that lead that they do have now. By 3 over Edmonton. They put a touchdown on the board. It could make it awful tough on the Eskimo offense.
2nd and 5, Saskatchewan. The ball at the Edmonton 53-yard line. Swing pass to Conrad. He won't get a first down. Alex Carter and Larry Ruck made the tackle. You know, we talked earlier about the devotion of some of these Saskatchewan fans. The wedding at halftime involving Ron Fisher of Saskatoon. Bill Baker was telling us another interesting story just before the game.
Now, that one is tough. The lady is in labor to have a child, and the hospital's 2 blocks away. She didn't want to miss the game, so she went to get permission to have her parking place put by the gate, and she's got her day pass tag on her wrist from the hospital, and she's sitting down in this section close to the exit. Now, that's a pretty good fan.
Baker's 3rd down kick. Taken by Richard. Richards finds 1 block from Larry Ruck, and he returns the kick to the 17-yard line. 3:25 remaining in the 3rd quarter, and a reminder that this program is copyright and is strictly for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or exhibition in whole or in part without the express written consent of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is strictly prohibited. A 45-yard kick by Baker, an 11-yard run back by Tom Richards. 1st and 10 Edmonton. The Eskimos are at their own 17-yard line. Sandusky comes wide to the left. Sandusky is the receiver, and Greg Favre, who has moved in at quarterback, got the ball to him in his first passing attempt.
Well, today when we're talking to Coach Farragelli, you asked him about putting Favre in. He said, sure, I'll put him in. He says he's got some experience. He says, you know, the main concern is still win the football game. He said, we know Tracy Ham can be a good one, but if it's not his night, we'll make the change.
We're inside 3 minutes in the 3rd quarter. Greg Favre with the handoff to Chris Skinner up to the 40-yard line. Greg Favre, a University of Calgary product, who debuted in the CFL with the Stampeders, was with the BC Lions, now with the Edmonton Eskimos. Tracy Ham will watch from the sidelines as Greg Favre directs the team. 2nd and 6, just across the 40-yard line. Sideline pass incomplete. Sandusky, the intended receiver. The Eskimo punting unit will trot onto the field. You know, at this time we would be remiss if we did not offer congratulations to our director, Ron Harrison, who is moving on to a new position as Executive Director of Hockey Night in Canada. He takes over on the 2nd of August. And Ron, all of us who have worked with you over the years wish you all the best and know that you will succeed in your new assignment. Jerry Cowrick's third down kick is going to bounce towards the sidelines, picked up there by Richie Hall, and he's out of bounds at the 45. Just a 30-yard kick that time by Cowrick. A 5-yard run back. Well, Thursday night we'll get an opportunity to see the team that leads the Western Conference, the BC Lions, as they travel east to take on the Toronto Argonauts, a team most people picked in preseason polls to be the top team in the Eastern Division. That game starts at 7 o'clock Toronto time. The Argos lost their season opener, but this week beat the Ottawa Roughriders. McDonald, the intended receiver. I think he may have been bumped going down those sidelines by Stanley Blair.
Well, he ran a stop-and-go pattern. He went down, he stopped, turned his head like he was going to look back at the quarterback. And when Blair stopped, he took off, and they had a little bit of a collision, but that's incidental contact. All he wanted to do is get behind him, and he did. Not great stats, 12 for 30 with 2 interceptions, but I guess when you look up the board in your head, 17-14, you don't really care as long as you can come out on top. You know, the consistency is going to come as the season goes along. That's what talking to Goldman, he's talking about. You know, this is really their 4th game, their 2nd league game, but their 4th game overall. Their offense is still a little behind.
Some other years, 4 games made up the preseason. Ellingson makes the catch, and he has a first down to the 47-yard line.
Don Wilson,
Burgess rifled that one in there.
He drilled it, and Don Wilson doesn't believe that that ball got to Ellingson. It looked for sure like he was going to pick it off. Watch this ball, and watch number 20 come into the picture. Right in front of it. He felt he had it and going to go the other way, and all of a sudden he looks in his hands, it's gone.
1st and 10 from the 47. The Rider coaching staff feel this young man is going to be an outstanding receiver. Burgess throwing complete to Elgart for a first down, but did Burgess get hit by Larry Ruck just as he threw that ball?
Well,
Ruck was coming from the backside.
That was a great play by Tom Burgess. You have to feel a linebacker when he's coming as fast and as hard as Ruck was. And just as he let the football go, Ruck levels him. He sprints, he's looking to his right. What's coming from the right side of your screen? Number 47. He really unloaded, but the ball's on target and is caught, so they don't hurt as bad. Well, they hurt.
And you can
Watch
speak
this.
from experience.
Oh, those kind hurt.
To the live action, little swing pass to Nelson Jones. I don't blame Burgess for wanting to get rid of it quickly.
Well, he had the good play called against that defense. They were going to come after him. He's going to just drop that thing outside quick and let Milson run, but the ball just wasn't caught. So, as a result, we're back to the field goal thing again.
Well, John Gregory was telling us as we look at Brett Williams down on the AstroTurf, the Omni-Turf, I guess we should call it, here at Taylor Field, that it's been a rather difficult year for he and his family. John Gregory's wife, Carolyn, received her doctorate in molecular genetics out of the University of Manitoba, and she, for the past year, has been working at the lab at the Children's Hospital in Winnipeg. She is still employed there, comes over to Regina on weekends, and is hoping to land a full-time job here at the University of Regina. In the meantime, he has 2 of the children here in Regina. His son Boyd, who is in grade 11, and Sonia in grade 10, and his oldest son Todd has just graduated from high school in Winnipeg. His son Todd, by the way, is quite an outstanding raster, participated in the Canada Cup.
That is a little bit confusing. I mean, where is their house?
They're not quite sure.
That's tough.
Brett Williams is still being treated by Ken Lowe, the Edmonton athletic therapist.
2nd down and 10 down. Big play now for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They would love to get a touchdown on this drive and not have to kick that field goal. 30 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. If they can get a touchdown, they can make it tough.
I was wondering if Ron Fisher and Linda Fulmer would remain here for the balance of the game. I guess if you get married at halftime at Taylor Field, you will stay to see the conclusion of the football game.
That's the rule in Saskatchewan. You cannot leave. They locked the gates.
2nd and 10. Burgess looking into the end zone. This one is well over the head of Tim Kearse.
That's good coverage by Benjamin. Good protection by the offensive line, but he just wasn't open. He went down, went to the inside like he was going to go to the post, and then broke back outside. Benjamin didn't go for the fake. He was back there waiting on it.
So Ridgway will attempt another field goal. His CFL record for one game, 8 against Ottawa, July 29th, 1984. This will be number 6. Penalty flag on the play. It's good. But it might be called back. There is the penalty flag. They're going to confer with Dave Ridgway, so obviously the penalty is against Edmonton. And that is also
Offside.
the final play of the quarter.
47, decline. Throw ball good.
So Ridgway's 6th field goal will stand, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders move into a 6-point lead with 15 minutes remaining. Decided from what it was at the start of the ball game. It was blowing out of the west at some 35 kilometers, but it has now dropped off noticeably. Stephan Jones on the return following that Ridgway field goal. He's got a convoy down that left side of the field. And Ridgway is the man who finally forces him out at the 34-yard line.
Well, you know, Don, that the big thing we said earlier, that the Eskimo offense had not made any big plays, and that's a credit to the defense. But so this time they set it up on a kick return, and if you remember what John Gregory said, he wanted better play from his special teams. He won't be happy with this. Stephan Jones sets this up nice with that little cut in there. The green jersey's hesitating, and with his speed, he bounced it outside, and he just takes off running. Steve Crane finally got it.
A 41-yard return after a 40-yard kickoff. Greg Babra continuing at quarterback. Blake Marshall is hit by Vince Goldsmith after an advance of about 2 yards.
Number 22, Blake Marshall.
He was hit. There wasn't any doubt about it. It's a good hit by the defense. Just as Marshall gets it, look at the hit by Goldsmith. He got the feet underneath him, and he come up through with those shoulders, just put him right in his back.
Babra being chased by Goldsmith. Gets the pass away, incomplete as he was looking along the sidelines for Marco Sincar.
They're still getting that pressure upfield. He got pressure inside. And then number 78, James Curry, was really even wider yet in case Babra got outside. The defense is executing the way that Ted Heath wanted them to go.
John Gregory feels he has a more experienced coaching staff this year, and it's tough to argue against that statement because he does have Dan Daniels and Steve Goldman working with him. Jerry Korrick with the field goal attempt. It's wide. Fuller in the end zone is going to concede a single point. 20-15 is now the score. The Roughriders still in front with 13:38 left to play here at Taylor Field. 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. The pitch to Denny Ferdinand. He's been running hard tonight. As we said earlier, John Gregory has been shuffling his 4 backs. Ferdinand and Conrad coming in, replacing Nelson Jones and Tim McRae, the starters. They seem to like that combination.
Well, I think the nice thing about it is that it does a couple things. It keeps you fresh during the football game, but then if injuries ever occur during the season, which they usually will, your guys have playing experience, actual game time, and that helps.
Burgess was looking for time, and Brian Warren prevented him from getting to the outside.
Well, you know, we talked about the changes the other night that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers made. The Eskimos made an awful lot of changes this year, and that whole defensive line is just about new. And we know Warren's not new. He was a linebacker, but he's moved up to that rush end position.
He told us today that he rather enjoys that spot because he more or less just turned loose and goes after the quarterback.
Yeah, there's not much thinking involved for him now. He's the wide side of the field. Your job, get upfield, get the guy with the football. When you're a linebacker, you got to get involved in pass coverages and all those drops and stuff. This is a lot easier.
Good kick by Baker. Williams takes it at the 31-yard line. Dancing and spinning up to the 39. Rick Clausen was the man downfield to make the tackle on the gizmo, restricting his return to 9 yards after a 43-yard kick. Well, on CBC Sports Weekend this afternoon, some of our viewers may have witnessed Ron Lancaster in his feature on the CFL, and he dealt with that very thing. The work that the spotters do in communicating to both players and coaches on the sidelines. Eddie Milliken and Ron Lancaster putting together an interesting feature on CBC Sports Weekend.
It is interesting in a way, Don, because the coaches from up here talk to the coaches on their headsets. But if they want to talk to a player, then there's a phone available, and that player goes and picks it up, and he gets his instructions firsthand. You don't lose anything in the translation.
Second and 10, 11:49 remaining. 20-15 is the score. Vavra to Sinkar. That will be close to a first down. He ran a 10-yard out pattern in front of Harry Skipper.
Well, he hit the second down pass, but that first one, he threw that out to the wide side. Very fortunate the ball was delivered low, because had it not been low, I believe Mike Magruder might have been going the other way.
This time Sandusky goes wide to the left. And off straight ahead, big hole for Chris Johnstone, and he has the first down to the 42-yard line. Blake Marshall into that other running back position threw a key block to spring Johnstone loose for 21 yards. Greg Vavra has replaced Tracy Ham, the starter, and has an Edmonton drive going to the 43-yard line. Incomplete. Sandusky was the intended receiver. Although I'm not quite sure that is the actual target that Vavra was throwing to.
Yeah, they had the slot back, I believe it was Sinkar breaking out underneath. The ball went over top of his head, and then Sandusky tried to make the catch. But they had good pressure again, and once again, as soon as Vavra threw the ball, Curry and his boys were there to put him on his back.
Second and 10 from the 44-yard line. Vavra's pass bounces off Tom Richards. He was open, and Vavra got the ball to him, but Richards did not try and catch it with his hands. He tried to cradle it on his chest, and it bounced off.
Yeah, Joe pat him on the back, so you'll get the next one, and all the other players on the sideline catch the first one. But look, you can't be thrown any better. Right between the 2 and the 5, it hit the shoulder pads and bounced out. And that cost him a first down.
A field goal attempt of 51 yards by Jerry Cora. He's hit on 2 of 3. Dave Ridgway is 6 for 6. This one falls short. Joe Fuller starts out from the 2-yard line. And he is brought down by Brett Williams at the 7. So that's where the Saskatchewan Roughriders will be scrimmaging when we return to Taylor Field in Regina.
Thursday night, quarterback Matt Dunnigan, who has his team unbeaten, leads the BC Lions to Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. Tank Landry and the Toronto Argonauts will try to pressure Dunnigan, looking for their second victory in 3 starts. Capturing the moments. The CFL on CBC. BC at Toronto, Thursday at 7 Eastern.
Eskimo place kicker Jerry Korick has the longest field goal tonight, but David Ridgway has the greatest number. He is 6 for 6, and that really is the difference in the ballgame.
Yeah, he's missed his last 2 attempts. Barrick has.
Burgess trying to get to the outside. He might run with this one. He goes down with Steve Schaefer in pursuit, and he'll be 2, maybe 3 yards shy of a first down. He signals to the bench that he wants the short yardage team.
You watch him run, sprint out. When I take a look, see, we can see that sand fly up off that turf. Say there's 300 tons of it. Burgess sees it. Use his head very wisely here. Get down. There it goes. See that sand flying up. We haven't had nearly the injuries, though, tonight that we had in the other, last year over here at Taylor Field on that old turf.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it.
That old turf here at Taylor Field actually was dangerous.
It's very dangerous. It's like playing on that parking lot.
Nelson Jones to the outside. First down. Will he get a block? He does. For number 32, Nelson Jones.
Play was designed to go inside, but Nelson Jones didn't like what he saw, and he bounced it outside. He got a block from number 88, Tim Kearse. See, he goes inside. Now he tries to go out, and you saw Wilson trip over one of his guys. He gets a little bit of a block even. And there comes Larry Ruck's going to finally dive out and bring him down, but got him out of a big hole.
I think it's safe to assume that Nelson Jones enjoyed a bit of satisfaction on that one against his former teammates. This is Ray McDonald in front of Stanley Blair for another Saskatchewan first down.
You talk about strength of quarterback's arms. That's one of the passes right there you'll throw to see how strong his arm is. He threw it from 1 hash mark downfield somewhere around 18 yards on a hook to a wide receiver. That tests the strength of your arm. That has to be thrown on a line.
McDonald in the second half has made both his catches. One for almost 40 yards earlier. Tim McRae fumbles the football, and I believe he managed to get it back. He carried down to the Edmonton 39-yard line. 7:20 is the time remaining. 20-15, the Saskatchewan Roughriders lead the Edmonton Eskimos. Both teams looking for their second win of the season and to share first place in the Western Conference with the BC Lions. Tony is blitzing. He's after Burgess. Burgess gets it away. Nelson Jones makes the catch. First down, Saskatchewan.
They brought that halfback blitz on the wide side of the field, and Burgess saw it coming. Well, there's no sense standing in there and taking the hit. Oh, he ran to the open side and then dumps it. The blitz is going to come from the left side of your screen. There he comes, Tony. So he just uses his speed and mobility to get outside. Nelson Jones turns to the sideline, makes the 1st and 10. So the Riders still control. They're down deep now, about the 28.
And what is important for the Saskatchewan Roughriders is that they are using up a lot of time in this drive. Warren gets Burgess and flips him to the turf.
Burgess with the ball.
The rush in for the Edmonton Eskimos. Brian Warren beat Ken Moore.
Check that number 38.
Reached out and grabbed quarterback Tom Burgess for a loss. For Burgess, sack number 2 tonight. Or for Warren, I should say, sack number 2.
It's second down 14.
A loss of 4. It's second and 14 back at the 32. The rookie who scored a touchdown in his first game against Ottawa, wide open. I think he was thinking run before he actually caught the football.
And whatever he was thinking, it was wrong because he was wide open. The receiver, Tim Kearse, went down and broke to the inside. And all of a sudden, Cliff Tony couldn't get out there. And that left Fairholm alone, but he just dropped it.
Gary Columbus is the injured Edmonton Eskimo player. Joe Farragelli has to be concerned because he only has 1 day, really, in which to prepare for the next game against the Ottawa Roughriders. The Eskimos will travel tomorrow to the nation's capital. They'll work out on Monday. They just go through a light drill on the day prior to the game, and then they play on Wednesday.
That's why they're going down straight to Ottawa. It'd be crazy to go all the way back to Edmonton. While you see Fairholm out here, there is really no white jerseys anywhere. I'd say that's pretty catchable. We've had a lot of drop passes. Burgess had him in the first part, and then that one of Richards a little while ago, and then Fairholm drops that one. Can't blame the weather tonight.
Plays such as that where the receiver would like to just keep on running right out of the stadium, but make no mistake, this young man is going to be a good one. The Roughriders are really excited about the way he performed in training camp and won that first-string slot back position. And by the way, he is the son of a former CFLer. His father, Larry, played with Montreal from 1965 through 72. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders anticipate big things from Jeff Fairholm in the future. Ridgway with his 7th field goal try. It is good. .551 is the time left. Roughriders haven't been able to put it in the end zone, but Dave Ridgway has been absolutely perfect. 7 for 7. Ho-hum, another day at the office. Ridgway with that CFL record 8 field goals against Ottawa in 1984. So with 5:51 remaining, he may get an opportunity to equal that record. Gizmo Williams on the kickoff return. He runs out of room over on the far side of the field. A 54-yard kickoff, a 20-yard run back, and Joe Farragelli apparently is going to stay with Greg Vavra for the balance of the football game. He started with Tracy Ham.
Well, Tracy Ham had almost 3 quarters to get that offense going, and I think by them it was fairly obvious to Coach Farragelli that it just wasn't Tracy's evening. So let's get Vavra going, because Damon's going to be out for a while. Somebody's got to take control of this football team.
Vavra under pressure. He is down back at the 32-yard line. Jurison and Lewis will share the sack.
And really, Goldsmith was there also. There were 3 green jerseys in that Edmonton backfield. Straight back. Here they come. Inside rush. Number 79, Lewis. Come up the outside with Goldsmith. Finally, Jurison finishes the job. And there's 3 green jerseys beating at that quarterback.
A loss of 7, 2nd and 17. Bobby Jurison last year had 22 sacks. 2nd in the league. The Riders have another sack as Eddie Lowe, the linebacker, brings down the Edmonton quarterback. The initial pressure came from James Curry.
Once again, try to sprint outside. Watch where number 78 is. Cannot get out there. Makes him come back inside, and there's Eddie Lowe just waiting on him. Just turn back blocking. But the big key, don't allow that quarterback outside. Make him come back in where you're going to get some help. And both times now that they've run that particular stunt, Eddie Lowe has been there waiting for him.
The injured player is linebacker Steve Crane. He's out of Acadia, the same school that produced David Conrad. And the two of them,
very
interestingly enough, have been friends since childhood and wind up playing professional football with the same team.
Yeah, they played together. They played against one another first. Then about grade 11, they started to be teammates. They went right out of high school, both to Acadia. Became friends there for 4 years. Both were drafted with Saskatchewan. Here they are. Their mothers were friends. So, I mean, they got a lot in common. And, you know, it's kind of strange to be raised in Halifax and end up playing football in Regina, Saskatchewan. But I know they're both good football players, and that's all Coach Gregory cares about.
3rd down punt taken by Richie Hall at the 42-yard line. Couple of blocks. Penalty flags might bring it back, however. To the 12-yard line. Harry Skipper, I think, is going to be one of the Roughriders who will be tagged with a holding or blocking from the rear call, and there was another one downfield. So that effort by Richie Hall will go for naught. What might have been is wiped out by this call.
Holding, Saskatchewan 71. First down, 71.
Jurison was the other Rough Rider guilty of a holding call. Skipper was also flagged, but that came after the Jurison incident. 4:23 is the time remaining. The ball back at the 37-yard and make it the 38-yard line. Burgess throwing to the sidelines. Tim Kearse, the intended receiver, it was well over his head.
Deliberately, he just got rid of it. Throw it out of bounds. Pretty well covered down there. Steve Benjamin sitting right there waiting on the football. Throw it away. Don't take the chance on an interception. You sort of have the game in your hand now. It's under control. Don't do anything to offset that. Don't upset the apple cart now. Yeah, I was just thinking, looking here, Riders hang on and win. First time they've won 2 since 75. You see those seats that are empty over there? They won't be empty next week when Winnipeg comes to town.
There will be new enthusiasm and new interest in the green and white. Their slogan this year, 11 years is enough, a reference to the fact that they have not been in the playoffs since '76. Junior Robinson was covering Tim McRae, the target of quarterback Tom Burgess.
Well, I believe right here we're going to see 11 men go after the football and let Giz do whatever he wants to do. But I think they've got to try to block it. You know, I think Ottawa had a little bit of success in their game with Saskatchewan, put a little pressure on the Terry Baker. They've got to do that. They've got to cause something to happen. A big play. They need it really bad with 4 minutes left, really 3.5. They've got to have it now.
Well, a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and it could be a tie game. Ooh, they came close to getting that one as Baker really hit it high. Good hang time. Now Williams is trying to do his thing, but he runs out of room. He was forced out of bounds by Steve Crane. That was a 43-yard kick.
Mills, what are you doing over here?
All right.
Two games next week. On Thursday, we'll be at CNE Stadium in Toronto as the Argos entertain the BC Lions, and the blackout will be lifted for that game. And on Saturday, we travel to McMahon Stadium in Calgary as the Stampeders host the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And there will not be a blackout in that telecast either. Intended for Stephen Jones, covered by Mike Magruder. Incomplete.
Well, Babber made the right read, Don. He had sent the second receiver in to flatten a quick post, but he threw it in there, but Magruder was there to knock it down.
3:02 is the time remaining. John Gregory's team clinging to an 8-point lead. About the loyalty of some Saskatchewan Roughrider football fans, Joe Farragelli's wife Lori might be the most devoted Edmonton Eskimo fan. She drove from Edmonton to Regina, will travel to Winnipeg tomorrow driving, then drive to Ottawa for the game on Wednesday night, then drive on to Rhode Island to visit the family, and then head back for another football game against Hamilton.
Right.
Babra looking over the middle. Nobody there at all. And one of the reasons that Greg Babra had to throw was he had a very angry-looking James Curry staring him in the face.
In reality, he had time to throw the football. He was looking to his right. The receivers were covered. Now, when your time is up and you gamble and turn and look backside, you can almost bet there's going to be somebody like James Curry waiting on you.
Cowrick's kick. Taken by Joe Fuller. And he is stopped at the 42-yard line with 2:41 remaining by Dave Richardson. That was a 44-yard kick by Jerry Corick. Tom Burgess is trying to get his landed immigrant papers. He has a mathematics economics degree and wants to remain in Regina full time. But without those papers, he can't legally work in the off season.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? You got guys coming up here with college education trying to settle in this country and become part of it and can't get them. Something's wrong somewhere.
Handoff straight ahead to Tim McRae. First down to the 49-yard line of Edmonton. Stopped by Stanley Blair and Junior Robinson. A 19-yard gallop for Tim McRae. 2:34 is the time remaining.
Both defenses have played well tonight. The Eskimo defense has done their job. All the couple pass plays, and then this time McRae finally gets big yardage inside. But the Eskimo offense has not solved the Saskatchewan defense yet. Not going to.
Tim McRae again. Stopped by Craig Schaefer after a pickup of 1. Further to that landed immigrant situation. That's one thing in these times of fiscal restraint that the CFL can offer to import players is an opportunity to integrate into the community and a career after football.
Oh, so much easier over the years. You know, you think of the number of guys that, well, you can name probably 50 or so, and I could have come up here, played, and just stayed, and have been great people in the community in which they live in all the cities here, but right now it's very difficult for them.
Elgard makes the catch. That should be a first down. He was punished by Don Wilson, and Elgard felt that impact.
Well, you know, the Eskimos have to pull out the stop, so they're going to blitz everybody. They brought a halfback. Burgess saw it coming. So did Elgard. Bang, just dump it inside. Here comes the blitz, but watch how fast Burgess gets rid of the ball. That means you got to come up and make a tackle. You get a little bit of a headache, but when you're winning a football game, you'll be okay tomorrow.
Elgard's a little wobbly as he heads off to the sidelines. Trainer Ivan Gutbrand is helping him off. And James Ellingson will take his spot at the slot back position. 1st and 10 Saskatchewan. The ball is between the 38 and 39 of the Edmonton Eskimos with 1:55 remaining in the ball game. 23-15 is the score. The Rider fans are in a happy mood, but they better not start celebrating yet. Tim McRae works his way down to the 36-yard line. Nelson Jones with a good block on Larry Ruck to enable McRae to work his way closer to that Edmonton goal line. And now McRae will come out as Ferdinand goes in.
I think if they get these 2 yards on this second down try, they can celebrate. 133, 125 now. They make this 1st and 10. It's just about all over.
Draw play. They aren't going to make it. Brent Williams stopped Denny Ferdinand, and we will get an opportunity to perhaps witness a record-equaling field goal by Dave Ridgway. He is 7 for 7. This will be his 8th attempt, and he holds the league record. He kicked those against the Ottawa Roughriders in 1984.
You got to give him the chance to do it. You know, not too many times in your career you're going to be in this position.
It's long enough. It's good.
Well done. And, you know, we're going to have to pick the most valuable player in a little while. I'm voting for the holder. Nice kick. He knew it was in as soon as he hit it. He knew it was good.
And he breathes a sigh of relief as he watches it go between the uprights. 8 for 8, Dave Ridgway. And that, for John Gregory and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, should pretty well wrap up. A second victory and a share of first place in the West. Tracy Ham is back in there, and he delivers the ball to Marco Sincar up at the 44-yard line. 52 seconds remaining. 26-15. Ridgway with 24 of the points. And the scoring lead of the CFL.
Yeah, I would think so.
Some guys have gone a career without that many points. sidearms it to Tom Richards for a first down.
Well, he did sidearm it, didn't he? He stepped in between those two green jerseys and almost looked like he was going to run, and he's spotting the receiver, just flipped him.
Well, it's been a long time since the Roughriders have started the season with back-to-back wins. And this place will be pumped up next Friday night when the Winnipeg Blue Bombers come to town.
Just remember, I'm voting for the holder. My choice. Who is the holder?
Glenn Sutter is the man who spots the football.
Oh, sure. See, I didn't know. But I'm voting for it. He caught every snap and put it down.
Ridgway is after Ham. So is Goldsmith. Now there's pressure. And Ham is taken out by Crane.
Well, you know, Scott Oak said it in the opening. He's talking about, you know, the defending Grey Cup champions has everybody taking a shot at them. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, this is a big, big win for them because the people were still skeptical after that win against Ottawa. But this defense of theirs has done the job tonight. They have put pressure. It didn't matter whether it was Babber or Ham. They've got everybody.
Well, the province of Saskatchewan may be experiencing a drought, but these fans at Taylor Field are hoping that their football team will harvest a Grey Cup and a successful season. And if they continue playing the way they have in the first two games, they might finally put an end to that drought of 11 years as far as the playoffs go.
Joe already signaled third down. Go get it. No sense kicking the football. Ridgway will kick another field goal.
I think one of the most relieved people in the park will be General Manager Bill Baker, because with the season ticket base of about 14,000, they need a good walk-up for every game. And when you start the season with 2 straight wins, you can anticipate, I think, that there will be spectators coming out. Chris Johnstone was the intended target as Ham tried to dump it off, but he was under pressure from James Curry. 26 seconds remain, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders will take over at the 51-yard line. And it is entirely possible that Dave Ridgway could get a shot at a league record 9th field goal.
You know, they really only need about, let's say 15 yards to have a try at it. I think I'd go ahead and try to get that 15 yards and give them a shot at it. What the heck?
The wind has absolutely calmed right down.
There is not. So I'd like to see him get the shot at it. Oh, they're not going to do it.
Burgess is going to just drop to one knee at the midfield stripe. The fans are booing because they, I think, want to see Ridgway at least have a shot at a record 9th field goal.
26-15, even a 2-point conversion is not going to help. Let him get up there and get that thing in position.
Well, he did hit a 60-yard field goal last year.
Yeah, but we don't have to go backwards to let him try to get 61. I guess you got to be happy with the win, but it's not often a guy can get the opportunity to do that. I'd like to see him take a shot at it.
Well, with 3 seconds remaining, the final play of the ball game is coming up. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders have delighted better than 22,000 spectators here at Taylor Field with their 2nd straight win. A fine debut here at home for John Gregory's Roughrider team.
Well, you know, when you see the effort, Don, we were at the press conference yesterday when Bill Baker and President Tom Shepard was announcing more fundraising drives that they work 12 months a year on out here in the West, no matter what cities you go into. And that the store out here where they sell all the riders' souvenirs, they do a great job. And it's nice to see them with the opportunity to come out here and be in first place after this game and set up that big game next week with Winnipeg.
Well, you talk about off-field fundraising activities. Both Saskatchewan and Winnipeg have big promotions. The Roughriders with their bingo, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with a lottery where they're offering a new home as the major prize. They'll have some fun looking at that one on the videotape. Burgess trying to step back from center, falling on his back. But he can smile because he is leaving the field a winner. 26-15, the Saskatchewan Roughriders defeat the Edmonton Eskimos, and Dave Ridgway kicking record equaling 8 field goals. The Roughriders move into a first-place tie.